Oh, there it is.
Welcome to the November 9th Board of Supervisors meeting. Please join me in the flag salute, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we're going to take up item number 1, presentation given by Health Human Services Agency to proclaim the month of November 2010 as Adoption Awareness Month in Tulare County to raise awareness of children in foster care waiting to find permanency and celebrating and honoring all families who accept. So we'd like to, Renee?
Yes, good morning. I'm Renee Smiley. I'm the Deputy Director for Child Welfare Services. And I'm here because of Adoption Awareness Month for November. And I just wanted to thank you, Supervisor Ennis, and members of the board, Mr. Rousseau and Ms. Kathleen Bales-Lang. First of all, I'd like to talk about what Tulare County Adoptions is. And basically, it's a legal process. It's a way to transfer parental rights from biological parents to adoptive parents. Most of the children that we deal with in Tulare County are dependents of the juvenile court, and they've been removed due to no fault of their own. It's typically from abuse and neglect. Right now in our adoptions unit, these are the finalized adoptions that we've had over the last few years. And considering this has just been one unit, they've done an outstanding job trying to finalize permanency for these kids. Currently in the adoptions unit, we have about 221 children waiting to be adopted. This is the breakout in age group that we currently have in this unit. And you'll notice, as appropriate, that the biggest number is in the age group of 0 to 4, and these are often our most vulnerable children and often our highest risk population when it comes to the removal of children due to abuse and neglect. Of the 220 children that we have waiting to be adopted in the adoptions unit, this is the breakout by supervisorial district. So you can kind of see where your district nets out in terms of kids that are waiting for permanency. The really sad thing for Tulare County is that we have about 132 children in long-term foster care. And why I really wanted to talk about these kids is because Adoption Awareness Month is such a great and happy thing. But here we have in Tulare County about 132 children that don't have a permanent home. And when I say that, I want to say that they're in a legal status of long-term foster care, which means that nobody is looking for a permanent home for these kids. If no one does anything and these kids stay in long-term foster care, they will experience numerous placement moves. They will often perform very poorly in school, and ultimately they will emancipate from the child welfare system as adults. This is the breakout of our current long-term foster care caseload in Tulare County by supervisorial district. And again, these are kids within your district that don't have a permanent home, kids that we wish we had permanent homes for. Your help is really needed as supervisors. We have about 353 children total that I've just told you about that need forever homes. And we're really looking for mature and loving individuals that will take these vulnerable kids into their homes and be their forever parents. And I think the thing is while everybody's looking for something to care about, right here today is 353 children that are in our own community that need a place to call home. Some adoption myths. I just wanted to try to dispel some of these. You know, the first one is that it takes years to adopt a child in foster care. And we know that that's not true. There's been some federal legislation called the Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997, which basically has put the permanency of children as a priority. It has actually shortened the time that parents have to reunify with their children, and it actually considers the development of young children and how important it is that they get a forever home very early in the development process. So we're really happy about that federal legislation. Another myth is that all children in foster care are damaged and classified as special needs. You're going to see some kids this morning from some adoptive parents that are going to come and speak to you, and it's very clear that the children that they adopted are not special needs. And what we mean by special needs is that often these children, as I've told you, are not involved in our system through any fault of their own. They're here as a result of abuse. And often what special needs means is that they're they're an older child, they could be part of a minority group, or they could be part of a large sibling group. Another myth, that state and county agencies withhold information about a child's history at the time of adoption to prospective adoptive parents. And I'm going to tell you that if I ever were to adopt personally, I would go through a county agency. And the reason being is that we are required legally to provide all the information that we know about, factual information about the children and the biological parents in terms of medical background, developmental background, psychological backgrounds, what we know about their siblings, what we know about their past education, and what we know about their emotional development. So we're required to disclose that to prospective adoptive parents. Another myth is that families receive no financial support after an adoption is finalized. And this is also a myth. It's not true. Most of our children will qualify for some kind of federal or state assistance, cash subsidies, medical insurance, and social services, and often services provided to families after they've adopted. Benefits of adoption versus long-term foster care. Gosh, I just couldn't even list all of the things. I had to shorten down this page because I was just going on and on about it. And there's so many good reasons that kids thrive when they're in permanent homes. And as you can see, they have a real sense of identity. Kids who grow up in long-term foster care just don't have that. They oftentimes get to remain in contact with their biological family members or siblings. A lot of times they're placed or adopted by biological relatives, that kind of thing. And I think one thing that's really shocking, I wanted to kind of share with you not only the emotional and social benefits of adoption, but also just the costs in terms of, general fund dollars to this county, Tulare County. And you can see that here is an average county general fund cost for a child who was adopted at the age of 2 and up until the age of 18, and then a child who was removed from their parents at the age of 2 and emancipated out of the foster care system. And you can see the adoption savings is almost $136,000 in general fund dollars for every child that we can have go permanency through adoptions versus long-term foster care. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to introduce Judge Juliet Bocconi. She is the presiding judge of juvenile court, and she's going to come up here and talk about typical cases that she sees as she presides over the juvenile court dependency cases.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to present a sort of a scenario of what we do see. This is not necessarily a family or what, but it is a scenario that we do see, and it's a perspective, because a lot of times what you have in these situations is you have a family with a lot of children. In one scenario that I'm familiar with, there were 2 8-month-old twins, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. They were in a home with no water, inadequate food, dirty house, no appropriate supervision. They had a lot of experience with negative law enforcement contacts from their parents' activities. The children were all removed from the home at those ages. The twins and the 5-year-old were actually adopted by families and have done very well and haven't been in the system since. Unfortunately, the remaining children were not adopted, and they are in various forms of long-term foster care and some of them are in what we call the 600 or delinquency system. And so they've, led a life of crime. One of them is now an adult and supporting themselves with criminal activities. What I propose is that in this family alone, what you're looking at is if we were able to get all of the children adopted, we would have saved conservatively about $400,000 in just placements. And that's not including the placements for the criminal behavior. When they get into the criminal behavior, you're not just talking about foster care, you're talking about group homes and custodial situations that are far more expensive than a foster care home. So it's $400,000 plus for the kids that we were not able to find adoptive homes for. In addition to that, you have children that are compromised, quite simply. It makes life much more difficult. When I've seen the kids go through the systems, the ones that I have seen, and I see the ones that go through 30 plus placements, even though you're looking at this kid and now they're a teenager and you're thinking, geez, we failed this kid, because they have the capabilities, they can do the right thing, but they just don't have the security or the self-confidence that we develop by being raised in a home with people who care about whether we get up in the morning, whether we go to school, and what we're going to do in the future. These are kids that don't have people looking at college applications or going and visiting colleges to see where they're going to be placed, all the things that much of us are very used to. And in addition to that, you've got kids in foster care that they're 18, you're 18, goodbye, you're done. Now, how many of us take our kids at 18 and say, okay, you're 18, see you later, you're on your own? That's just not reasonable, and it's not practical. Sure, you're 18 and you're an adult, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily ready to go. You have parents who are in the background saying, okay, we're going to see what we're going to do here. We're going to get you in a trade school. We're going to get you in a college situation. We're looking forward to when you're graduating, when you get married, when we can be grandparents. And these kids don't have that. The problem with the lack of seeking adoptive homes is huge for the community, because ultimately what you have is you have children who become adults that may or may not even be law-abiding, and even if they are law-abiding, they're still at a disadvantage a lot of times because they don't have the backup of having family units. I mean, we all know people who've grown up without families and they've done well, but that's generally the exception and not the rule. Generally, what I see as I see them progress through the system because I do mostly delinquency, is that they're acting out because every kid wants to belong to something, and there's many gangs out there that they can belong to, and they're happy to use them and abuse them and take advantage of them. Whereas if you have a kid who's got parents and a family that care about them, they choose the other way and they get involved in sports or get involved in school activities, boys and girls clubs, positive things, but they need someone to direct them. But all kids will seek some sort of group to join with, and the whole thing about the adoption is, I think that's the first step to directing them towards the right group, towards somebody who's going to have them in a secure environment where they know that when they go home, there's going to be somebody who cares about them getting there, and it's not going to be full of drugs or filth or a plethora of all kinds of problems. So I can't tell you how important it is to see that the kids that we do have to remove from their homes get into a secure environment as opposed to end up in my court until they get into adult court. And I'll tell you right now, I've got a lot of kids that in my court that are subject to the whims of the gangs and whatnot, and I just tell them, I said, you can stay in gangs, you have two options. You can either end up in the cemetery at an early age or end up incarcerated for the balance of your life. And that's really what they have to look forward to by joining that particular group. So I am very supportive of adoption because I think that that enhances tremendously their ability not to end up in my court. Thank you for your attention.
And now, lucky for us, we have two adoptive families that are going to come up and just say a few words to you. First, I'd like to introduce Peter and Erin Sheaf. Come on up, Peter and Erin. And then secondly, Rance and Lori Mullenix. And they've actually brought some pictures and even some of their own children that they've adopted, so they're just going to say a few words.
Hello, I'm Peter Sheaf. This is my wife, Erin, and 3 of our children. Just a little bit of a quick history of our adoption journey. It started in 2002 when, after several years of marriage and not being able to conceive on our own, we felt that it was God's plan for us to adopt. And so there were several options for us, and there was private, international, and we always kind of felt that we wanted to take care of the kids in our own community. And so we had a friend who adopted through the county, and it just sounded like a good experience for them. And so we became licensed in 2002, and a year later we received the call. And for those of you who don't know what the call is, it's the call, and 24 hours later you're a parent. And so that was Catherine, our 7-year-old, who's currently in 2nd grade and at school. Wonderful experience. And then about a couple years later, we got another call about Justin. And Justin was a beautiful 3-month-old baby boy, and he was just a delight in our family. When he was a little over a year and a half, he passed away from what doctors and what we feel was similar to sudden infant death syndrome, except he was older than 1 year old, and so they categorize it as sudden unexplained death of a child. And so we struggled with that, as anyone would. And about a year and a half after that, we felt that we were ready to get back in the game, and we got another call. And this call was double our pleasure, because we got a call about a sibling group of girls, a 3-month-old baby girl and a 20-month, almost 2-year-old girl. And that's when Lizzie and Sammy came into our lives. And so we went from 1 to 3 in 24 hours. And it took a little bit of adjustment, but we learned how to deal with it, and it was just wonderful. And so we were going along, everything was going great, and last March we got another call that the biological mom of Lizzie and Sammy had a little baby boy. And it was just the perfect blessing for us, the perfect time for our situation. And that's when Jonathan arrived in our family. And so there's 4 children at home, 3 girls and a boy, and 1 in heaven. And as far as our experience with the county and the adoptions, it's been wonderful. When you adopt children through the county, it's a little different situation than private or international, because the children are taken away from the homes, and so there's usually a reason why. And all of our children were drug exposed at birth, and one of our children was neglected as well. And so there's that to take into consideration. But as you can see, and as we can attest, these children are perfect, beautiful, and let's see. As far as our experience adopting and how long it took, it varied from child to child, depending on if we got them right at birth, or if they were further along through the system. And there's always some bumps in the road that might come up when you're dealing with these situations, relatives of biological families that come into the picture and express an interest. And so there were some times that we worried, and but everything turned out for the best. We've had just a wonderful experience with the adoptions unit and Kathleen Trevino and all of our social service, our social workers. And so we just can't begin to thank them for allowing us to have the big family that we always wanted. And so I encourage anybody who has a place in their home for a child to consider local and the children that we have in our system.
I promise I didn't pay him to say all those nice things about us. Come on up.
Okay, we're Rance and Lori Mullenix, and we couldn't bring our kids because they're a little older. They're actually in school, and this is Seth. He has a math test today. He was not going to miss it. He wanted to come. We said no. But he was adopted, same sort of thing. We did, actually I have 3 older stepchildren. We're a blended family. Decided to start a family together. Oh, he would like that, yeah. And we were going through infertility. This was actually in El Paso, Texas, and we got a call about a birth mother who realized it was not a good thing. She was looking for a Christian family. Our doctor called and said, can you get your paperwork done? And we said, we can do whatever it takes, and we did. Scrambling, and got Seth the day he came out of the hospital. And he's been a blessing in our life. And so we had 2 different situations. And then we started deciding we wanted to add another. And Shaylee, as you can see, loves the color pink. And in Shaylee's case, what we decided, this was our thought process. We said, we don't want an infant. Our age, we're a little bit older family. We wanted an older child, and we thought foster care, the county, lots of kids, and we actually have a family member by marriage who is a child of foster care, a long-term foster care, and exactly what you heard, the statistics. He is the greatest guy, in and out of jail, can't get his life together, never had a family, never had a sense of worth. And his children are beautiful. They are my son's best cousins. It breaks our heart. He can't get a job because of his jail record. It's just a vicious cycle. And if he had just been adopted as a child, we think, gosh, what a difference. We cheer him on. We're there for him. It's just not enough because of what's in his heart. Anyway, we decided it'd probably be easy to get an older child because they seemed like they were out there. There's a lot of children on the list. And what we found was, if we wanted a sibling group of 3, we could get a child pretty quick. We only wanted 1 child, so our wait was a little longer. And that's, again, statistics there. We couldn't do a sibling group of 3 or 4. So we waited, and then we got the same thing. We got the call, and we went and looked at her, and God blessed us, and she looks like one of our older children, almost to a T. And Shaylee started visiting us, and I will say the county was awesome. Kathleen Trevino, I had a lot of questions from the get-go before we even filled out our foster care paperwork. She took my call, answered my questions, because there are a lot of myths. They are out there, and our friends, as soon as we said county, foster, they went, ooh. And we said, we really think this is what we're being called to do. And Kathleen, she dispelled all those myths. She, gave me confidence that this is a good thing. So we met Shaylee, we started visiting. We never felt pressure from our social worker. Our social worker, Maria, was awesome. She was sensible, reasonable, to the mark. If she said she was going to be at her house at a certain time, she was. She was the best that we could ever ask for. When Shaylee was 3, she came to me, gave me a big hug, said, I want you to be my mom. I want him to be my dad. I want him to be my brother. I want this to be my house. I want to live here. And so we said, okay. And we talked to Kathleen about making the move. Let's make this permanent. And it's amazing that a 3-year-old child can recognize, I need an environment that's not as dysfunctional. I need something that's safe. I need a family. And we just finished the adoption on June 4th. And we actually just got our new Social Security card. We had heard horror stories about that. It just went smooth. And so she is now Shaylee Janae Mullenix. And we just thank everybody for helping us.
I would just like to say that going through the process can most certainly be emotional at times and difficult, but that it is well worth it. And I want to wrap it up very quickly and just say, oftentimes when people find out that our children are adopted, the words we often hear are, how blessed these children are to have this home. And my response and my wife's response to that is, no, we are the ones that are blessed to have these children. We really, truly are. And I would just encourage anyone who's considering adoption or currently in the process to maintain one's resolve, because ultimately in the end, it is well worth it. And thank you for your time this morning.
Would anybody have any questions or like to make a comment?
Just a comment. Love to rattle off several sentences, but really the comment is, wow. It's really great to see families like yours who can open up their hearts and really take the blessing that these children bring, and have that perspective that these kids are a blessing and not a burden. And it's too bad there aren't more people like you out there, because we wouldn't have the 350 or so kids in the system the way that we do. So thank you for what you have done to help the lives of these children, and I sure hope that a lot of people will find the ability in their hearts to open up their home and families to these kids to help them in the future as well. So thank you very much for what you've done, and we look forward to hopefully a great outreach campaign and good results from it. Thank you.
Just one quick thing. You mentioned that you got the call, and 24 hours later, you were mom and dad. You're lucky you got 24 hours. When our second daughter that we adopted, when we got the phone call, it was an hour and a half. And we had actually been on a list of do not call people. We said, stop calling us. Don't ever call us again. We have 6 children. We have plenty. And a year and a half later, someone was inspired to pick up that phone. So, good experience. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to also say and commend you for stepping up and doing that. I know Rance is from over in my area, and a heck of a ball player too. So we do appreciate everything that these families are doing on a daily basis, and hopefully we're going to get the rest of these foster kids into homes where they're appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, if meet me down in the well here, I'll present this proclamation. Staff at Tulare County, I'd like to just read a little bit from this. Every child deserves loving, nurturing, and permanent home. Adoption gives children a brighter future, brings a great joy to the adopted parents, and places fewer demands on social services. Children waiting for adoption, parents and families who have adopted these children require and deserve community and public agency support. And Tulare County Adoption Unit within the Tulare County Child Welfare Services, works diligently to find permanency for Tulare County's foster youth. So now therefore be resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors do hereby recognize National Adoption Awareness Month and proclamation November 2010 as Adoption Awareness Month in Tulare County, and call upon to support the adoption of children of all ages, and encourage Tulare County families to answer the call by becoming adoptive parents, caring for these children and ensuring their safety and permanency of well-being. Signed by Alan Ashita, Pete Vanderpool, Philip Cox, Stephen Worthley, and Mike Ennis, Tulare Board of Supervisors. Congratulations. This is an action item, so
I would move for approval of this item.
Second.
Moved by Pete Vanderpool and seconded by Phil Cox. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to item 2. The presentation from the Tulare County Waste Haulers Association regarding its new website and emphasis on consumer education and information. So, who's going to present?
Good morning,
Morning.
Chairman, members of the board. My name is Richard Gress, and I'm the president of the Tulare County Haulers Association. We've had this local, the haulers of each little hauling area, we've been in the association since the ordinance was adopted. It's been in place some 30 years. What we're doing here today is we've put a website together, and we just want to make sure that everybody's aware of it, and it makes it easier for constituents.
Richard, can we have your address too prior to?
Oh, I'm sorry, 273 Valley View Drive, Exeter, California, sir.
Thank you.
I'd also like to, at this point, introduce Nancy Lockwood. She helped us put this presentation together, the website, which I think came out awesome. And some of the haulers are also here, some of the other haulers in the Haulers Association. The reason we're doing this, it's just to make it a little easier for your constituents to find out information about the different haulers, their different websites that they can go on to. They can print out recycling information brochures, things like that. Makes it a lot easier. Nicole Parr is here with us today. She's kind of a consultant for us, helping us put these things together and arranging meetings and doing things that are helping us keep on track. This website was put together in English and Spanish, so we're very proud of the way it came out. It's got a lot of good information there, and it's got maps, as you can see, that show the different hauling areas. So if somebody's new to the county, they could refer to this and they could find out right then and there. I mean, a lot of times you just look at your neighbors, you see the phone number on the garbage container, kind of as a giveaway, but this also lets everybody can see, the outline of the different hauling areas. And at this point, I would like to make sure that just everybody knows, what we're trying to do is make sure that everybody, we keep our lines of communication open. We've had a really great relationship with the board over the years. Hopefully we'll get to know you guys better as time goes on too, but people that I've gotten to know in the 20 years that I've been in business, Mel Richmond and Connie Conway and Bill Sanders, Bill Mays, Charles Harness, all these people before us, and before I was the president, I'm sure that Ron Beavers had relationships, and other Gabe Pena, I'm sure he knew a lot of the other supervisors as well, and so we just would like to encourage you guys to take a look at any of this stuff, and I've always appreciated being able to do work in the county. We do a lot of cleanups. And anytime, people approach us, I don't think any of us have ever turned anybody down to do a cleanup or anything like that. And we're, always embedded in the community, happy to sponsor Little League teams and things like that. And in most cases, our employees, live in the communities we serve. And let's see here, what else do I got for you? The other thing that we're very appreciative of is working with, the board's always been great to work with, but we've been very fortunate in the staff the Tulare County RMA staff, Doug Wilson, Larry Aubrey, Britt, just all the people that we've been fortunate enough to work with. We really feel blessed that we've been able to have, people that were really professional, and we look forward to continuing on another 20 years. And beyond. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be pleased to answer. And I have some brochures here also that we put together that kind of, it's a little summary, a little bit of the website there. And so if you guys need to keep something in your office and you want to ever hand them out or refer to them, and feel free to contact us at any point.
Richard, I've got two. One question, one comment. First of all, the question. I've had several meetings with community members, and specifically this one yesterday that I met with. I was going to be calling you, so convenient you were here today. That was great. they actually were inquiring about what they can do as a community to obtain recycling bins for each pickup location, and they are in your service area. So, just that would be a good piece of information for me, obviously, to report back to them, but maybe to include here because there's a lot of people that are looking into ways to recycle and help in the cause that you're working towards as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to, if you could forward me whoever that was, I'd get that to them quick.
I will do that. And then the comment, I just wanted to thank you for your generosity, in specific down in Alpaugh, where the firefighter, Pat Hines, was injured. You have been very generous and donated the roll-offs so that we can get his house cleaned up and have somewhere to dump all the garbage that's obtained. So thank you for your generosity. You are good to the community and good to the people that you serve. So thank you.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's almost full again.
Okay. Well, we'll be right out there.
Yeah, the comment, I have a couple of comments. I represent the county on the Consolidated Waste Management Board, and so I have opportunity to sit with the haulers and with representatives of the cities. And I don't think Richard patted themselves on the back enough. We're under state mandates to reach certain levels of recycling. We've been doing that. The group has been doing that. And a big success story I'd like to highlight that not a whole lot of folks know is last year we changed contractors for our construction waste. There's a special site at each of our dumps where you can take this construction waste and from new homes and remodels being done. And the other contractor was out of the area that was taking that and doing that recycling for us. And, they were hitting about 50% or so. They were getting about what we thought they would. And since we changed contractors and went what I'll call in-house over to Pena's disposal there with that construction debris, I don't know what the numbers are today, but they've been hitting 75, 80% plus of recyclables. So I don't know if they're just cracking the whip really hard on there and pulling everything they can out. I think that's a good success story because that piece of success that Pena's has been helping us out with helps the county overall in our recycling needs. And all of the haulers have been really stepping up and doing an exceptional job with the recycling needs of the county. So I think they're all to be commended on what they've done in the last few years by taking that responsibility on our behalf and really making it happen. But the construction debris, I think, is a really big success because there's a lot of weight there. It's just not, paper and stuff. There's a lot of wood and stucco and concrete. There's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. So I think they deserve a lot of recognition, all the haulers do, for how they've stepped up in their recycling efforts over the last few years.
Thank you.
Well, I think anytime we can educate the people on, there's so many things going into our landfills and stuff that doesn't need to go there, especially
Absolutely.
things that can impact our groundwater and different things. So anytime we can educate people, and this is another source, it's always a very, very good thing. Nicole, did you want to say anything?
Well, I'm good. Don't give me a
Okay.
mic.
Well, I would like to say,
Good to have you here, though. Good to have you here.
I would like to say, it's easy for us to come up here and say all the great things that we're doing. I mean, I could make a bigger list, but it's very nice to hear you guys coming back from the other direction. I mean, a guy can always toot his own horn, but we really do appreciate your comments.
I also like to make a comment that I appreciate that you've come before us today because your industry is something, because you're segmented into different territories, that we don't get an overall view of what's happening outside of our own districts.
That's
and
true.
I think your website would be very handy to get out the word of the good works that you do in our communities.
Thank you.
Because overall, I haven't heard of many. And there's been many things that have been very positive that you've been doing all along that we're not exposed to. So I do appreciate your presence today and the rest of the group that's here today. And hopefully we can get out to the public.
Well,
right.
I encourage anybody in the audience to, even if you're not living in unincorporated Tulare County, to, check out the website and take a look, and maybe you'll get a little recycling tip here and there or something. So thank you again for your time. I'm very gracious.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Okay, we're going to move on to item 3, which is a presentation from our Service Learning Grant recipients, and I call Jeff Forbes.
Good morning, Jeff Forbes from the Board of Supervisors office, and here today as Youth Commission staff. This morning we're going to hear updates from the service learning participants that received funding through the Youth Commission and your board over the summer to do community service projects. This year there were 8 total projects. There was 1 for each district and 3 additional projects throughout the county. Usually at this time we show videos that we've done for each project, but with 8 of them it would take quite a while, so we're going to just hear brief verbal updates from each school about what they did and give you a summary of their project. Citrus High School in Porterville couldn't make it today. All of the students who participated in the program are taking their high school exit exam today, so they're still in Porterville, but we'll be bringing them back in a few weeks. So with that, I'm going to call up Deputy Benjamin Quintana from the County Sheriff's Department, and he's going to speak about the project that was performed at Charter Alternatives Academy in District 1.
Good morning, Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin Quintana, and I'm a Sheriff's Deputy for this great county. Our Summer Step-Up project for Charter Alternatives Academy was anything less than successful. Our mission was to create poised individuals ready to take on any challenge that is placed in front of them. Disengaging the barrier, holding self-discipline, teamwork, character, and leadership out of reach. The summer program was set on the foundation of a cadet program I founded in 2007 at the Academy, a program created to help at-risk students in an alternative education placement open many opportunities. The Charter Cadet Opportunity Program, or ironically CCOP spelling COP, was unveiled. The class filled very quickly. After the first year, we had to place students on a waiting list. Out of these once at-risk students, we chose 5 current and past cadet leaders to assist in creating a flawless effort and mentorship over 10 Green Acres Middle School students already deemed at risk. These 5 cadet leaders were to create a bond between them and the recruits, laying a solid foundation to begin teaching the fundamental necessity for leadership and self-discipline. I observed a bond between the leaders and recruits fused together with great resistance to peer ridicule within the first week of our assembling together as a team. I observed many of the cadets second-guess themselves during physical training and drill, wondering if joining cadets was a wise decision. Their curiosity and strong-willed determination to better themselves paid off. I noticed the cadets taking charge of their past behavior and emerge as confident and eager individuals. Strength and honor could be seen on all of their faces. Sweat could be seen rolling down their faces, being caught before falling onto their military creased uniforms. They were ready. As we prepared for the final display of our values as cadets, I could see the frustration in their faces, but they continued to work harder, a tenacious core requesting additional time to practice their routine. They wanted precise precision to slice into everyone's hearts like soft butter. And watching the cadets of Green Acres Middle School march as a single impenetrable unit, a team, they had the eyes of the audience, and they completed their task. Everyone was in awe as 15 cadets sliced through our hearts as if it was soft butter. This I knew happened because I had to reseat the audience following the Pledge of Allegiance. The respect these cadets received at that moment brought tears to my eyes and warmed my heart. It was a tremendous honor to have worked with these cadets. They could not stop with their gracious affirmation and hopes the program resumes in the coming years. Helping children succeed is a tremendous reward in itself. I'm glad to be a part of what we here in Tulare County are challenging. The past, present, and I'm sure future cadets give thanks to the wonderful people of Tulare County for their patience and for the encouragement given to help with their future endeavors, and for the generosity of the Board of Supervisors for extending the opportunity for the students of Green Acres Middle School to participate in a successful program 4 years running. And Mr. Scott Braden, Principal of Charter Alternatives Academy, and on behalf of the Charter Cadet Opportunity Program, we would like to offer Mr. Supervisor Alan Ishida with a gift of gratitude.
I got something to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I have a proclamation to present to you on behalf of the Board of Supervisors for the outstanding program that you've created and maintained in Farmersville. The one issue when we started Step Up was that we went into the high school level of students, at-risk students, and trying to keep them away from gangs. We did not have the background or the money to reach down to the lower levels of middle school and elementary school. But we found through a lot of our Step Up grants that we've been giving is that the high school age students are mentoring the younger children, and we get actually a double benefit from that fact that we also build character in our high school kids, but because of the mentoring to the younger kids, it's a preventative aspect of the program. So the Academy has done two things. Not only helped the people directly involved in it, but also helped the younger children who are at risk. So thank you very much for your program, and I'd like to present you on behalf of the Board of Supervisors this proclamation honoring your program.
Okay, next we'll have from District 1, Farmersville High School, Lisa Whitworth.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and visitors to the meeting. My name is Lisa Whitworth. I'm the assistant principal at Farmersville High School. I am a longtime resident also of Farmersville, so I want to thank the board for the opportunities that you're providing to touch student lives and enable our communities to reach out to students that I like to say, rather than at risk, just have a lot of unique barriers that they're trying to overcome. This year we were lucky to get our grant funded, and what we did at Farmersville High School is join in a joint community project that the students actually led. We teamed up with the Senior Citizen Center, and we wanted to do some upgrades to the building. It's an old building. We did landscaping, small appliance, repair and replacement. We have worked on some plumbing, electrical, painting, sanding, you name it, and we undertook it. This project, and I think we're glad, but we're also scared, but it continues because it just grew. We ended up with so many people wanting to help and so many donations that we're right now in the process of replacing the stove now. So I brought with me two students, Diego Barjona and Jessica Cisneros, who have just a little bit that they'd like to say.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to help our senior citizens and for investing in the students of Farmersville High School. This project impacted us in many ways. It allowed us to improve our communication skills, work as a team, and take responsibility for our own project. We all agree that our biggest impact was a personal one, meeting people from the community who really seemed to care about us, and including the Board of Supervisors who funded our idea.
We would like to give this gift to Supervisor Ashita for helping us and supporting us from the Farmersville High School and the senior citizens.
And Supervisor Ashita, we want to explain, it's kind of an eclectic gift that we have for you. But what the team decided to do is they had a lot of ideas because they wanted this to mean something to you, because it means something to them. Of the 11 students that started this project and were full-time in it, are 11 tremendous success stories. These are students who were definitely facing some barriers. They have gone on, and what this gift represents is there's a lanyard in there from a student who's now become involved in leadership on campus, and they all got lanyards, and this student wanted to put that in so you would know that we have students now in their real life outside this project that are involved in leadership. There's a coffee cup from a student who's now going out for wrestling for the first time. That student is a junior. That's going to be interesting to watch. We have some nuts from the senior citizens and a picture. Well, you know, I'll leave that to you. But a picture that some of the students took with you when you were there helping them work that they wanted you to have. And we have a student who's become involved in photography. So there's also a shirt in here for academic achievement. Every single one of our students improved their GPA and their grades. Every one of them. So the things in this basket represent really these 11 students.
Thank you very much. And I happened to be at this event. And what the students did was they did the irrigation system, they re-landscaped the building, and probably one of the biggest learning occurrences during this event was a dishwasher. We had a very difficult time replacing that dishwasher because the way it was put into place. So I think there were a lot of great minds working on how to do this, and we had quite a time, and I think it's probably took the longest of any event just to change the dishwasher. But it was a very broad educational experience for the students, and I did not hear one complaint the whole time I was there, and they did an excellent job for a group that really needs a lot of support. Thank you very much for your help. And thank you very much for the gift. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I'd like to give you this proclamation recognizing your accomplishments. So thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to call up from District 2, Tech Prep High School, Mary Kathleen Oxford.
Hi, thank you for letting us talk today. I had the absolute pleasure of working with the students from Tech Prep. I am a librarian at Tulare Public Library, where the Service Learning Grant was actually executed. The students from the Tech Prep High School created from scratch and developed a program to do after-school tutoring using minimal to no resources, figuring out a way to provide tutoring help to Tulare students through volunteer work. So they were faced with a difficult challenge to come up with the policies, the recruitment, and the standards that we would go by. And they're still working. They just brought me the last posters that I needed for the room. So right now we have 70 registered students, and we have 15 to 17 volunteer tutors that work in that room 3 days a week, and we're able to provide that for 15 hours a week. It's been a great program, and through other grant opportunities, because of the success we have, we've been able to get funding from AT&T to provide 10 laptops for the room for students to use with wireless printing capabilities and some other things. So it's been really great. And then we started a partnership after they saw what the great program the students put together. We started a partnership with the Tulare Athletic Club and the Tulare Boxing Club, and they also provide some of our training for our tutors, and the police department agreed to fingerprint our tutors for free. So it's been an amazing program, and I will let Roger and Joseph tell you a little bit more.
We'd like to thank everybody who helped us with the grant, because we had to gather up our own students and recruit our own workers. And we, like Mary Catherine said, we did start off with minimal to no resources. We had to gather up the prices for everything we had to buy. We had to stay in the budget. And I think this helped us grow as a group, because a lot of us did have differences at first, but we all talked about it, and we all just put our own 2 cents in and try to make it a real good learning center and hope it works for everybody. And that's about it.
Well, I'd like to start out by passing these cards out.
Thank you.
What Joseph is passing out is the referral card that they created to do publicity for the room, along with the logo that the students created from scratch. Go ahead, Joseph.
Well, we started out the program to help in our community learn a little bit more, try to get them to have a place to where they can go do their homework and get a little bit more tutoring done. And, well, let's see.
How did it help you?
Well, it helped me learn a little bit more about teamwork, and because we all did have to put our own ideas in, we had to come after school and work together to get the logo done. We had to do a lot of researching, and yeah, it's pretty much.
I'd also like to say that like we worked the whole summer for this, and like we had to come up with our own mission statement. We had to like stay in the budget. We made our own logo using Photoshop. We looked through a lot of other mission statements for other libraries just to get an idea of what their learning center was about, and we really had fun doing this. It kept me busy this summer. I also got paid a little bit, that was pretty good. And yeah, I'd like to just thank everybody who helped us with this, and I really appreciate it. Okay. And I also have a present for you.
Good job, you guys.
It's the Learning Center in action.
The Learning Center in action. I'm glad it's not a picture of me when I was there helping come up with a lot of the ideas. I was there and we worked together, and it was really a great opportunity. These students were very fortunate that Tulare had a brand new library, and they're looking for ways to kind of format it and get it all structured as to how it will be going forward. So this was really a great project because it not only helped the kids that were involved, as Roger and Joseph can attest to, but it also is going to help kids. You've seen there's 70 kids signed up, and it's going to help kids and generations going forward, because hopefully this program will stay around due to your leadership, and you guys have been fortunate because you've been able to learn a lot through this process, the budgeting and all those sorts of things. I mean, those are things. I just got married 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure hoping that my wife learns the budgeting subject pretty early on, but anyway, so you learned some very valuable skills, and I really applaud you for your efforts, and enjoyed spending the time with you and hearing your innovative ideas, and a great way to spend the summer, make a little bit of money, and definitely stay out of trouble. So thank you guys for all the time that you put in, and thank you, Mary Catherine, for the job that you did, because these programs don't happen if there aren't willing leaders in the community that want to step up and take on an extra project during the summer to work with youth and to make a difference in the community. So I'd like to extend this proclamation to you and also to you kids, and we'll turn around for a picture real quick.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to District 4, Rossi High School. District 3, Isaiah Charter Independent Study. Danny Cantamelli. Hope I didn't butcher your name too bad.
Good morning. My name is Danny Cantelmi.
Okay.
I'm a science teacher at Visalia Charter Independent Study. And first of all, we want to thank you for the opportunity that you provided us with this Learning Service Grant. And with the Step Up funds, our vision was to get our students, and we had 20 students in the program, to provide them an opportunity to learn something that the four walls of the classroom can't provide them. And that is to get out in nature and actually experience science firsthand. And the other thing was, along with their learning from that firsthand experience, is to give them a vision for giving back what they have and what they've learned. So our goal was really twofold. The first thing we did was we took a group of 20 students to Catalina Island Marine Institute for a 4-day intensive science camp. And this was an amazing experience. Every single one of the students had never experienced anything like that, from the boat trip over to the island to snorkeling and doing ecology hikes and all kinds of great activities. And my goal was to help the kids get turned on to learning and to really see that learning can be fun, and to maybe just maybe spark something in their minds that they would want to pursue after high school. And then upon our return back, we had some debriefing times together, and the kids wrote children's books, illustrated children's books, about their experience, but infused in that they had to have a specific message about anti-gang or anti-drug abuse. And from those books, we took those to 5 different elementary school classrooms, and we did book shares. And the students, this is one picture in Manuel F. Hernandez Elementary. This was a 3rd grade class that we went and did a book share at. And it was a great success. Every single one of the book shares were tremendous. And each high school student that was part of the grant took a group of 3 or 4 kids, shared their book, and then they had an opportunity to discuss the plot of the story and the message that the high school student was trying to convey. So it was a great moment for mentoring, and also a great moment for the kids to grow as well in their leadership skills. So we just wanted to thank you for that, and I wanted to introduce 3 students that were part of the program and just give them a moment just to share one thing that they've learned from this learning opportunity. Michael?
Hi. I would just like to say that I had a really fun time, and it was really inspiring to go on this field trip. Going to that 3rd grade class, I was taken back to when I was in kindergarten, and we had our 6th grade buddies that would come to our class, and they would share with us. And it just really made me think that, when kids have an older person to kind of guide them through things and give them advice, they really look up to it. And it was a really awesome time, and the field trip itself was just amazing. I mean, that pretty much blew anything out of the water that I have done for a field trip. And I learned a lot, and as the class, went into this, we really didn't know much about each other. We all kind of stayed in our own little bubbles, but going into that field trip, we came out of that knowing everybody's name, and some of us were even hanging out even after the class and spending more time together. And just leading up to the field trip too was a lot of fun. We did a couple bake sales and stuff to help raise money to help pay for the funds or whatever to go on the field trip. And it was just a really enjoyable experience, and I'm very happy to know that this coming semester, another group of students will be able to partake of the fun and also the encouragement in helping more elementary students in progressing. So thank you.
One.
Hello. It was an amazing experience, just to try something new. It taught us to not be scared and just go for it. And reading to the kids I hope we impacted their lives, so they won't do drugs and join gangs. They won't.
Hi. This whole experience was awesome. I love science, and so this was a really neat, interactive way to really get into it. And we really wanted to learn all this stuff. We got to do so many things when we were in Catalina. One of the things we got to dissect a squid with their hands. That it wasn't like preserved in formaldehyde. They had just like de-thawed it. It was fresh. And then after we dissected it, we had a campfire, and we actually got to take the squid mantles and we roasted them, and I ate one, and it was really good. But like we got to do like so many new things that we would never ever have the opportunity to do elsewhere, and like it really taught us to like try new things and to kind of be fearless when faced with new opportunities. And when we went and did the book share with the kids, it was kind of a reminder of like as an older student to be an example to the younger kids and to be something worth looking up to, like to really put the time in and to study hard, and like we should be an example to the younger kids. And in my book that I wrote, one of the messages among a couple was like stand up to peer pressure and don't give in. And after we had read the book, we were asking the kids questions, and I asked the kids, well, do you think it's okay to give in to do something you know is wrong just to look cool? And one of the little girls, it was so cute, she was like, no, you should never be something you're not, and just to look cool. And so it was really neat to see like the kids' perspective on stuff, and it was a really good learning experience, like all around. Like we learned stuff from the kids, and like not only were we sharing, but you know they were kind of helping us understand a few things. So it was really, really enjoyable.
So on behalf of VCIS, Visalia Charter Independent Study, we wanted to thank you for your support and to provide these kids with an opportunity to actually give of themselves. After the fact, I have not talked to one student that didn't walk away changed. Not necessarily by the field trip, but more so by giving of themselves. I think those elementary school kids had a lasting impact on them, and thank you for that. And we wanted to present to you a picture of our first book share, just as a reminder of our community and what we're doing there. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to have to insert a disclaimer here. Please do not always eat your science projects. I think this is what it's all about, is hearing those words that young people are coming out of this change. They're having the opportunity to mentor other young people, and I think this is what the program's all about. So congratulations. I do have a proclamation to present to you, signed by all the supervisors.
Okay, next we have from District 4, Rosie High School, we'd like to call Junior Serta.
Hello, good morning. My name is Junior Serta. I'm a social worker at Rosie High School. First of all, I want to start by saying thank you for giving us the opportunity and giving these students the opportunity to fulfill a dream. When we started this project, the dream was to, of course, help the community and help, in particular, the students of our community to learn something new and to be deterred from being involved in gangs. So we ventured out with ideas from the students themselves to do a mentoring program for the incoming freshman class that was soon to come in August, which we just passed. So here to give us a little bit of the story of how it impacted him is Julian Zaid.
Thank you, Junior. Well, as Mr. Serta already mentioned, I was one of the 15 members here with us today to counsel and mentor the incoming freshmen we had. We used the grant to dedicate our effort into mentoring incoming freshmen. Throughout this time, we learned leadership skills and public speaking skills. We provided information about high school events, activities, clubs, and school culture. We also conducted workshops on how to succeed at Rosie High School and led incoming freshmen into team building activities. Some examples of the workshops that we had and speakers who spoke on these subjects are gang awareness and prevention, a healthy lifestyle, test taking, conflict resolution, time management, and goal setting and volunteerism. The goal was for every freshman that participated in this program to leave with set goals and a plan for their high school years. During the 2 weeks, I felt that every mentor truly connected with some of their freshmen. During one of the sessions, we had a group discussion, and I had a little 14-year-old Daniel shared with us his story that about at home, his father was a heavy drinker and caused problems at home. But little Daniel closed with his statement saying, "I really want to go to college." And I replied to him and told him that I'd help him get there. Now in school, I have Danny a couple classes, and he's joking around with me that he sees me as an older brother. And without this grant, the Step Up Service Learning Project, I don't think any of that would have been able to happen. And I really, truly thank you guys for the opportunity you gave us. Mr. Sturda?
As you can see, every single one of the mentors, and these aren't all of them, there are a few that were not able to make it today for the KC test purposes, but the ones that did come, they want to show gratitude towards you guys because they want to really say thank you. I mean, it'd be great if we could have each one of them speak, but of course we don't have enough time, so we kind of narrowed it down. We had plans for others to speak, but like I said, with the time being the way it is, we couldn't do that. So, but we really appreciate it. We were afforded the opportunity to receive this grant so that we could make some lasting impact in our community for our youth. And we especially want to thank Supervisor Worthley for his contribution and for supporting us and supporting the youth of our community again. And we hope that in the future we can get support from not only Supervisor Worthley, but from the other members of the board too. So thank you very much. We have a plaque that we wanted to present Mr. Worthley.
Yeah, filling in for Steve Worthley this morning will be Supervisor Cox.
And it just reads a special thank you to Supervisor Steve Worthley. The community of Cutler and Rosie appreciates your continued support for our youth. So you
Great.
can pass that on to him.
I will definitely do that. Thank you. And on behalf of Supervisor Worthley, who's asked me to represent him today, we do have a proclamation honoring all of you for your participation in the Step Up program. And again, mentoring seems to be a trend that we love to see with these service learning grants. And thank you guys for your participation.
Thank you.
Okay, next from District 5, Burton Pathways High School, Matt Klung.
Hi, how are you? My name is Matthew Kuhn. I'm a history teacher and also a teacher of the Service Learning Grant class that we put together. And what we decided to do with our grant money was to create a way for the kids to make documentary films. And it was something we were very appreciative for the grant money. We were able to purchase cameras, microphones. We were also able to get some what's called Pinnacle software, some very high-level software, which is really tough to get, and the kids are starting to use it now. And what we focused on at the beginning so far is films on our community. And it's something that it's very difficult to get students involved in their local community unless they see a value in it. And one thing that we tried to really do is allow the kids to see the value in meeting people in their community. So the first two presentations were made on Virginia Garola, a past mayor of Porterville, and also the current mayor, Ron Irish. And the students learned to research, they learned to use the software, they learned to interview, they learned to put it together, add music, and learn to tell the story. And being that I'm a history teacher, that is one of the toughest things. Gathering facts is relatively easy, but being able to storyboard things and put it into a storyline, allowing people to see what you're talking about was really great. And the kids, they surpassed what we thought they'd do. I have a couple of students here. We have 20 in the group, but we brought 3 here. I'm going to have Elizabeth Morales come up and speak.
Well, I'm actually a TA in the class, and I watch the students actually do it. It's very hard, but they do very well. They actually get to interview and actually get to see how they do it. I'm actually going to do a video next, even though I'm a TA. This seems very interesting, so I'm very excited to do it. They do a lot of researching. It's brand new to the teacher and to us, so it's a good opportunity. I'm excited to do the video. Thank you.
Doing this video has showed us like the inspiring stories of the people that have done a lot in the community. Some had to face a lot of obstacles, but they overcame them. And it's nice to know that next semester the students are going to be able to keep this service learning program going, because you do learn a lot and you get involved with the community.
I just wanted to end with another comment or two about where we're going with this. It's kind of easy to say what we've done, but what we plan on doing is having the kids start working on issues in the community, not just interviews, learning to work with bias and trying to see how you tell a story, looking at both sides and why there are both sides to every story, and putting together longer, more detailed documentaries based on issues in the community. We're also using the films. The films are being used by the district going to the elementary schools, and they are giving these films and showing them into their 2nd and 3rd grade classes and things like that to inspire them to work within the community. And one other way it's affected our school in a big way is that because this was designed and the kids seem to really enjoy it, we have another community service class that I'm a part of as well, where we're improving our campus with murals done by the students, and we're going to work within the community as Christmas gets a little closer with some jacket drives and canned food drives and things like that. So it's nice to get the kids involved, but more importantly, instead of trying to teach them what the issues are, let them discover them. I think it's a lasting effect on them. So we did want to present this to you, Mr. Ennis. It is, we didn't know how to explain how you've affected kids. We know that you have affected them in a different way, because instead of just making them great academics, you're able to help them in their heart by actually changing what they feel in the community. So we got this for you, and we appreciate very much your help.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to be out there when you were interviewing Virginia Garola, and it was, you guys were very thorough. That was very good, and I appreciated being there and appreciate your hard work during this program. So congratulations to you, and on behalf of Tulare County, I would like to present this proclamation to you. Okay, up next will be also from District 5, Granite Hills High School, Evan Hackett.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors. My name is Evan Hackett, and I'm an English teacher.
Want to grab that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
English teacher at Granite Hills High School, and I'm also advisor to the Grizzly Gazette. I brought 3 of our staff members. Lamarcus Bailey from the video team, Derek Alonso from the video team, and we have a reporter hiding somewhere, Sonia Stewart. First, I'd just like to give a brief background on the Gazette and then explain what we did for our service learning grant. The Gazette started about 7 years ago with 2 computers and 5 students, but I found that the students really liked producing an online newspaper, a website, and within 3 years, they had produced a newspaper that was recognized by the National Scholastic Press Association as one of the top 10 newspapers in the United States. And that was in 2006. And then in 2007 and 2008, we were national champions competing against the best private and public high schools in the United States. The students enjoyed producing the paper so much they wanted to have a chance to carry on through the summer. And the Service Learning Grant provided us opportunity to conduct a summer camp for middle school students. And from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock for 1 month, we had 20 middle school students coming to Granite Hills High School. We took all of our equipment up from the classroom, which was not air conditioned, to the office, and our staff put on a clinic for all the middle school students on how to produce their own websites and their videos. And Lamarcus Bailey would like to briefly explain what they did this summer.
During the summer camp, we had different stations for the children to go to so they can learn the different aspects of our newspaper. We had the video and audio station, the Photoshop station, the web design station, the photography station, and an interview and reporting station. And the students got to design their own web page, and they used all the different stations to put together their own website. They made their own video and slideshows, and they took their own pictures and wrote their own articles and photoshopped their own photos. And they seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. And some of them came back, went into Granite and started doing it for the Grizzly Gazette. And we would like to thank District 5 Supervisor Mike Ennis and all the rest of the Board of Supervisors with this shirt.
Thank you very much. I went up there to watch you guys in action, but you were so far over my head. I do good to run this BlackBerry, and so I knew you were doing a good job. I just didn't know what you were doing. But great job, and this is what makes these things so great. And here's a proclamation for you from Tulare County, and we do appreciate all your hard work, and keep up the good work. You've done a great job. Okay, at this time, we will move to public comment. Oh, my shirt, yeah. Let's fix that microphone, too. Oh, yeah, that's probably right. Would anybody like to?
Well, we're gonna-
Wait just a minute, Lolly. I want to see if the board members would like to say a comment or two.
I'll just comment. We've already each had a chance to comment. I just think that the Service Learning Grant's a great program. We've all seen youth in every supervisorial district and how they're impacted by this program, and we look forward to hopefully continuing this to positively impact the youth of the generations to come. So,
Videos will be available, stepuptc.com. I throw that out as a way of a cheap advertisement. But what's great, this next year, we're going to have these service learning grants in junior highs as well, so we'll be able to see this working in younger folks.
I think over the last couple of years since we've had this program in place, it's taught me a couple things. One is that there is definitely a genuine desire by the participants and the adult leaders to do something like what's been created through these learning service grants. They just need an opportunity, and hopefully we can expand. We are expanding our opportunities. The other thing I learned that it's not the amount of money that makes a program successful. It's just the amount of money that you can get the program started. It's called seed money. So versus the federal government, the state government that throws millions and millions of dollars at these programs, I think if they would just target it the way that the Step Up Committee has targeted money, they'd be much more successful. And finally this is an extension of the Step Up Gang Prevention program. But I think it's much more than that. It's broadened itself. It's just more of an opportunity for our students to participate and become better citizens and to help other young kids become better citizens. So I would even take it out of the gang prevention side of the story. Is it's really a growth program for anyone who participates. That's all I have to say.
And we really have seen a lot of these programs continue on long after the grant's over with. They continue to go on and mentor the younger people, and we see it really working in our community. So what a great program. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Lolly?
Good morning. First of all, let me say congratulations for wonderful projects. My name's Lali Moeno, and I live at 4015 West Woodside Court in Visalia. And I'm here this morning to thank the Board of Supervisors and the different county departments for a wonderful job done on October 29th at our Women in Agriculture conference. We had women farm workers, we had packing house workers, we had dairy workers, we had truck drivers from all over the county, from Avenal, Wakena, all the way to Calarosi, East Dorosi, Poplar, Woodville, both labor camps and all other labor camps. We had 563 women registered. We had calls for over 1,100, and we only had 500 spaces. So it was a teamwork, and the two other ladies here with me are going to talk just a little bit as to what we did. But the team effort included the County of Tulare, and that was Health and Human Services under John Davis, and Department of Mental Health was a very major player, and that was Dr. Cheryl Dixon. And we had other people who helped and talk about a small budget. Somebody was saying, you can do, it's not money. We had less than $20,000 budget. None of the women paid for their lunch. We were able to get funding from everybody. We put it together. We provided childcare. We provided transportation also. And the other agencies responsible were, first of all, Health and Human Services, Suicide Prevention Task Force, the California Endowment, Tulare Regional Medical Center, Proteus, AARP, and then we had all the Latino media involved. Angie Tipton will say a few other words.
Hi, Board. My name is Angie Tipton, and I represent the Tulare County Health and Human Services. Along with the ladies here, I co-chaired the conference, and I just want to thank you guys for the continued support. We had, like Lali mentioned, over 550 women participated in the event, and that can only happen through the support of the board and, of course, of the agency. Whenever we have gone to bat and said that we need representation in the community, the programs show up. And so I just wanted to take a moment to go through the list of the programs that attended. We were able to provide over 600 flu shots, and whooping cough. We did blood pressure and blood screening. We had a presentation on suicide signs and symptoms, and really kind of barriers that are specific to our culture for seeking treatment. Tulare Works did food stamp outreach. Alcohol and drug did prevention. This is really the only time that these women have a day to take for themselves to learn a little bit about prevention and the services that we offer. So again, we just want to thank you for your continued support.
Good morning. My name is Rosalinda Vitia. I'm the outreach specialist for Proteus here in Visalia. And on behalf of the committee, I want to thank you, all of you, for your support. And of course, the wonderful work that Lolly continues to do. And Angie, I've gotten to know her for the past few years, and wonderful again. Every time Lolly says, we're going to do a conference, I'm saying like, oh my God, who else is involved? How are we going to get it done? And somehow everything comes together, and everybody has a good time. I mean, from FoodLink bringing us their nutrition on the go at the Holiday Inn, it was really something to see, and everybody working together. We want to thank you, and hopefully we'll be back next year. And thank you very much.
Yes, we do hope that you can help us next year. There are two other county agencies that help, and that was the Tulare County Sheriff's Department. We had the anti-gang units there. Every year we survey the women. They are the ones who determine the agenda for the day, and they want the anti-gang badly. And that's why I was very happy to see your service learning projects. And we also have the Agricultural Commissioner there. And we had 6 state agencies, plus the U.S. Department of Labor. We had Workers' Comp, Department of Consumer Affairs, Labor and Workforce Development Agency, Division of Occupational Safety and Health, and the Employment and Unemployment and Disability Divisions. And they sent us people from Sacramento, which we were very happy about. And also, for the first time, the women were able to file claims. They did not have to call an 800 number. They were able to file claims on the spot on water and heat issues in the fields. And our number one issue was wages, people being paid in cash in the county. And the people were very concerned about that, and they wanted to report that, and they were able to do that. The second concern was access to health, of course, and we were able to refer them. The county had like a big health fair there with all their departments, and then we had issues of water and shade that were very serious in some of the areas, East Orosi, but we were able to address all of them. So we got our money's worth, but this is not about money also, like somebody else says here. It's about making sure that people get the access to services that the county provides. And let me tell you, you guys did. And so we thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Lolly.
Mr. Chair, if I can, before Lolly runs away, don't run away yet, Lolly. I know you're really gracious about giving a lot of credit to your team, the planning group that worked with you, to the HHSA and all the agencies, but it's real obvious to see that Lolly has a very strong passion for this type of service that she does in the community, and I want to commend her for that and let her know that we do see that, and we're grateful for the service that you do provide, and it's real obvious that you love what you do and that you love the people you're working with and serving. So Lolly, thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, Lolly. Okay, let's move on to supervisor matters. We'll start with Mr. Vanderpool.
Just a couple items. First of all, last week on Friday, we had a meeting of the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority. This is an entity that was formed about a year ago to help keep health premium increases for county employees to a minimum. Now, this year, we're not so fortunate. We are seeing a slight increase, but that's as a result of claims activities, and we've already kind of talked about that, and helping to take proactive means to keep our employees healthy. But we are achieving really what the goal was initially, and that was in a way to keep the cost lower. we knew that when the entity formed, it could potentially be expanding. We've been received several requests from various counties and different entities throughout the San Joaquin Valley who do wish to become a part of the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority, and that will help to further reduce costs, especially for the founding members, Tulare and Fresno County. So we're really excited about that and excited about the opportunities that's going to provide for our employees in the future. And then the last thing I was going to mention is this Saturday, the community of Tipton is having their annual awards banquet. Would invite anyone to attend. It's really going to be a great event and something very exciting for the community. So that's what I'd like to say.
I'm just happy to see so many people here, and though you're probably here for a reason, but it's good to see folks fill up our chambers and become involved. There's times when we sit here and there's no one here, and we conduct what I consider to be very important business, and there's no one here to hear. Maybe they're listening at home on the internet, but I'm a skeptic. But I'm glad to see the room full of people today. Don't know why you're here, but glad you are here.
Well, for those of you, which is most of you in here, almost all of you, last Saturday I performed the Strathmore Rumba for the Symphony League, and we had a very successful fundraiser for the Tulare County Symphony, and I want to thank those who participated. Next week I will be I'm trying to think of the word. Next week we're going to have a conference, a roundtable conference at the Board of Supervisors annual meeting, and it's a statewide meeting of all the supervisors, and we're going to talk about the water bond, and we're going to talk about water issues that affect all of us, and that includes the northern mountain counties all the way down to the southern part in the desert. So I'll be one of the moderators on that panel, and hopefully we can formulate some type of plan that we can influence the water bond to where it's all-inclusive for everyone. And the last thing I want to state is, because we had a full audience today, is we had the opportunity today to listen to a lot of good things, and a lot of chambers, a lot of Board of Supervisor meetings and city councils. These meetings aren't so positive because of budget reasons, but there's a lot of good things going on in Tulare County, and I'm glad we were able to highlight them today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Last week I attended the Porterville Chamber event, awards event on Friday night, and I attended the Springville Chamber event on Saturday, and was very well attended. Both events were. Looking forward to the Veterans Day Parade this Thursday in Porterville. We're going to be Brett Land, who was killed in Afghanistan last week. They'll be having his memorial service tomorrow. Also would like to recognize Bud Barnes, who passed away last week. He was a 61-year veteran of our county fire. So the county is going to be flying their flags at half-mast at our stations through the rest of this week. So just thought I'd bring that to your mind. Okay, now let's move on to our consent calendar. Item 22 has been pulled for separate. Any other items to be pulled off the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Sheeta and second by Mr. Vanderpool. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, let's, item 22.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Hal Seifert, General Services Manager. Item number 22 for your consideration today is for a custodial services agreement for county facilities outside of the county seat. With the assistance of purchasing, General Services issued an RFP for these services using the best value process. Using the best value process, it allowed us to consider other important criteria in the award of this agreement, potential agreement, such as previous experience with the county, scope of services. So as the clerk has just passed out, is the tabulation of the results of the RFP. And with that presentation.
Any questions?
Just one question. I received an email from a constituent inquiring about the RFP process, and I just, in the agenda item, it's pretty specific here that this was not the low bidder that was going to be awarded the contract. It was for the best value. Is that correct?
Best overall value. You know, custodial services really sets the tone for the morale of staff and then also for the experience that constituents have when they visit county facilities. So often, if you just go with strictly the lowest price, you may not get the best overall value. And so that's why we've employed this method. And actually purchasing is beginning to recommend to departments that as they go out for an RFP that they consider using the best value process. So that way the county gets the best overall value for the services being requested.
Mr. Chairman, if I might be heard, to clarify for members of the audience or members of the public who may be listening, there's some confusion, I think, because the issue of low bidder is very important for purchase of goods that are covered under the California Public Contract Code. Services are not covered under that code, and public agencies are not required to take the lowest bidder and can use, as is a wise policy, the best value process.
Well, and I also think we have better control over our services. If it's stated going in what you're going to get, you always get a lot better service, I do believe.
And Mr. Chair, I'd just like to mention that the constituent that emailed me did say that he would probably be here, so maybe we'll ask and see if there's anyone from the public wishing
Would anybody like to speak to this?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Louis Gallardo. I'm with Environment Control at 148 North Acre Street here in Visalia. I understand the process that the county utilized to come up with the decision, or at least to award the contract. However, it's a process that in today's economic climate, I don't necessarily agree with. We had 3 vendors that have over 30 years experience in janitorial. There wasn't one vendor that was a fly-by-night company that, where, the county could say, hey, this company I don't feel could do the job. One company in particular covers pretty much all entire of California, as we, Environment Control, cover as far north as Modesto, as far south as Bakersfield. So as far as coverage and personnel in order to do the job, I just don't feel that the process was adequate to represent exactly the best value for the county. Now, considering I read an article yesterday that the county's looking at saving, over $500,000 with adding jobs, cutting jobs, and Mr. Ishida is talking about budgets, which is unfortunately a headline nowadays in many counties. The county would look at, over the 3-year period, paying an additional $174,000 over a 3-year period to this vendor. And we, Environment Control, as far as in a low bid process, we were not the low bidder. So I'm not here speaking to or pleading a case, look, this contract should be awarded to us. We were not the low bidder. However, I just feel that that the process, in light of budget issues and whatnot, I just don't feel that it was adequate. I understand if there's vendors that aren't qualified to do a particular job or whatnot, but I feel that the process doesn't allow for new opportunities. 25% of the grading process was for prior experience. The third vendor, based out of Fresno, they haven't had any prior experience with the county. So in essence, how is a new vendor or a new company going to have the opportunity to do county work if a big portion of it is for prior experience? Environment Control, since 1998, up until 2007, we have had experience with the county, and albeit the last few months of our contract in 2007, due to some personnel issues, we had some difficulty in particular in the Tulare area, and which left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because of this particular employee, which we subsequently terminated. And there's a lot of internal issues that we dealt with in regards with that employee. However, 12 years of experience prior to that, and being awarded contracts prior to that, we just felt that we didn't get a fair shake with regard to this particular bid. And we've never experienced that. As far as the best value process, I went back to the previous agendas. Nowhere did I see the best value process being utilized. It was, as far as the bids were outlined in the summary, where you gentlemen could view, what the other bids came in at or whatnot, and then the purchasing agent would justify, okay, well, we went with this person or this company for these reasons. And so I just wanted to come here and let my concerns be heard, in that summary it doesn't clearly point out exactly what the results were. You may have them now as a result of a couple emails that I sent out, but I strongly urge you gentlemen to reconsider.
Well, we do have the results in front of us, and previous experience was brought into the picture, and we had their previous experience. And besides that, it was the scope of services that we were really looking at. That was the determining factor. Mm-hmm. And so it all put together, you got 93 points, and you voted at 51, and there's less than, I'd say, $1,200 difference between the two of you. So, the decision's been made, and I think that the decision was made in the right direction.
Okay.
Because we've looked at the total scope, and that's the way we need to do it.
Okay.
Anybody else have any?
No, even if you do throw out the previous experience, it's still
right.
The point in it. Have you received a copy of this?
No, I have. No, I don't know what that is. I mean, I'm, as far as...
Can we get him a copy of the scoring, please? Well, I do support, staff's recommendation. I'm going to assume, Mr. Hunt, that this was spelled out clearly in the bid documents, that it would be done on a scoring basis. And read the big documents. I've read several of these, and usually when you bid, you are aware of how you're going to be scored.
I understand that.
Thank you.
And however, in several areas of the RFP, I mean, there's some contradicting phrases in there in regard, specifically in paragraph 19 of the RFP, where it outlines local preference. And in there in particular, when it states that equipment shall be determined as far as how they determine whether or not a vendor is a local vendor or not. And in there it specifically states lowest responsible bidder. So there's some contradictions as to which direction, how it actually was going to pan out when we've again been part of the county bid process for janitorial for 12 years, and never once has it actually boiled down to this best value process that you're dealing with. Now, I'm looking at over the 3-year period of the contract, and you may look at it from a monthly perspective, but over the 3-year period, the county would save $174,000 by going with the actual low bidder, which is a reputable company. And it wasn't us, but I mean, that's my argument, that it's something that, to me, the subjective nature of how things were computed is what I have an issue with.
Well, I think it all boils down to total services rendered for the amount of money you're getting.
Okay.
And control over that, and holding people, accountable.
Absolutely.
Okay. You bring it back to the board?
I want to know if Mr. Hunt has anything else he wants to say. If there's anyone else that has anything to say.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Bring it back to the board.
I'll motion to approve staff recommendation.
Motion by Phil Cox, Supervisor Cox.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Ishida. The vote is unanimous. Okay, I'm going to take these a little bit out of order here. Let's go to public hearing, number 9, request from Resource Management Agency to deny the appeal of Michael and Karen G. Uphold the Planning Commission's certification of the negative declaration and conditional approval of special use permit.
Mr. Chairman, this is also on your board's closed session agenda as item A.
Good morning, Chairman Ennis, Supervisors. Charlotte Versuelis, RMA Planning Division. The item before you today is an appeal to the appeal of Planning Commission's approval of special use permit to allow an assemblage of people for educational and entertainment purposes. The subject site is located on the east side of Balch Park Road, approximately a mile and a half north of State Route 190, northeast of Springville. The site is zoned PDFM, AF, and RC. The 5-acre portion that will host most of the use activities is in the PDFM zone. Here is a site plan of the 5-acre portion where the improvements are located. The project area contains 5 bunkhouse-style cabins, a gazebo, an arbor, 3 storage sheds, a camp-style kitchen, a forge, a pole barn, a deck, a camp shower, a fire ring, portable chemical toilets, a photovoltaic system for heating water, fire hydrant, and parking areas. All of the existing structures are located outside of the floodway designation. Whoops. What I did, I pushed the wrong button. This one? Sorry about that. Here's an aerial view of the property. The 5-acre portion of the site is located in the upper northwest corner. The land use elements applicable to this site is the Foothill Growth Management Plan as well as the Great Western Divide Mountain Plan. Here's an aerial photo of the subject site showing the 5-acre portion. Here's a photo of Balch Park Drive as you approach the entrance to the property. And this is a photo of the entrance to the site. There's an older barn and corral on the northwest corner of the site that houses the horses that are utilized for the on-site cattle operation, which is allowed by right. The proposal is a special use permit request, which includes commercial and recreational uses. For equestrian events and blacksmithing classes, as well as other types of uses, which include camp for cancer-stricken children, fish and game, quail hunt, trout in the classroom, art and music day camp for children, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts events, fishing, hunting, hiking, horseback riding, weddings, parties, private parties, and company picnics. Presently, there is a moratorium on prohibiting the establishment of new venues for assemblages of people. However, this special use permit application for assemblage of people was pending at the time the moratorium was adopted by your board and therefore is exempt from that moratorium. There were 2 public meetings before the Planning Commission, July 7th and August 25th. At those meetings, persons spoke in favor of and opposition to this proposal. There are at least 20-plus letters in support of the proposal that have been included in your staff report. Issues and concerns that were raised at the July 7th meeting include the 30-day review period for the environmental document. They thought was inadequate, lack of review of potential impacts outside the 5-acre portion, possible violations of the conditions of approval, project detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, and general welfare of the neighbors, odor from chemical toilets, noise, security, trespassing, unlimited events, light, glare, and inadequate review of impacts from the project. Staff has which I'm going to pass out, or Michelle. Is a matrix of the issues that were stated by the adjoining property owners. In this matrix, staff has attempted to respond to all of those issues that were brought up at the meeting. The July 7th public meeting was continued to the August 25th to allow the time for the Planning Commission to review the newly submitted comments which were received the day of the meeting, July 7th meeting, and also to allow time to staff time to review and respond to those comments. I'll be happy to go over any of those issues and concerns if you like. At the August 25th meeting, all issues, concerns were addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission certified the negative declaration and approved the proposal based on the documentation and support evidence that was prepared by staff, which indicated that the proposal met all the criteria and findings that support approval. Some of the major findings for Planning Commission approval included consistency with the zoning designation of PDFM, AF, and RC. The Site Plan Review Committee reviewed and approved the preliminary site plan and final site plan in September of '03 and February of '04, respectively. The 5-acre project lies within the Tule River Development Corridor of the Foothill Growth Management Plan, and the proposal complies with the general plan elements. The entire 722-acre site is encumbered with a conservation easement, which created a legally enforceable land preservation agreement between the landowner and the land trust. The deed of conservation easement created in July of 2002 specifically allows land uses, i.e. agricultural, recreational, and educational uses that do not significantly impair or interfere with the purpose of the easement. The subject site is not within agricultural preserve where the main activities will be taking place. And a negative declaration was prepared and approved for public review by the Environmental Assessment Officer, indicating that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment. An appeal was filed by Michael and Karen G. on September 2nd. The letter of appeal contained several issues and concerns, some that were reiterated from the July 7th meeting, and some new issues. Missing pages in the staff report, insufficient time to review the responses from either party, and the Planning Commission did not receive copies of Mr. and Mrs. G's responses. findings of no impact or less than significant, smoke, water runoff, reduction in property value, errors, inconsistencies in county paperwork, outdated agency studies or responses, agency findings invalid due to incorrect information. Conditions of the proposal have not been met. Applicant doesn't have required permits for operation of the requested use, change of ownership, and unanswered questions on the intended operation. Again, in the matrix that I passed out to you, those issues were addressed, and hopefully to the satisfaction of the appellants. Again, staff can go over any of those issues if you would like. Staff is requesting that your board move to deny the appeal filed by Michael and Karen G. and uphold the Planning Commission's certification of the negative declaration and conditional approval of the use permit number PSP 04071 based on findings and condition of approval as stated in the Planning Commission Resolution number 8519. There has been no evidence or documentation, scientific or otherwise, submitted that would negate or change the findings for approval of this project. However, there are alternatives, and I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Kimball to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ben Kimball from the County RMA Planning Branch. I just want to add to Charlotte's presentation that I was there at the Planning Commission when this was reviewed and can answer any questions you might have. I was also there on the site visit that staff conducted to investigate some of these concerns that was held earlier this summer, where we looked at noise and the odors and the other issues that the neighbors had raised. Just wanted to point out one thing regarding the concern over the incomplete submittal or incomplete package. The applicant had a valid concern at the time of the Planning Commission meeting. Packets of the staff reports were distributed to the Planning Commission and the applicants and the neighbors. We did not notice it in my personal packet. The staff report was pretty thick. It was single-sided, and included in this was a double-sided letter that went to the applicant responding to some of their concerns. In my packet, it had both sides, and the packet of the Planning Commissioners as well. When I went and looked at the neighbor's packet, it did indeed miss that letter, that 6-page letter, some of the pages. Somehow in the photocopying that was omitted. What we did to address that at the meeting was show in the staff report where that information that wasn't in their packet was duplicated, so that they had all of the information elsewhere in the packet. And then just to be nice, Commissioner Whitlatch tore out his copy and gave it to them so that they would be sure to have it physically on them as well. So be happy to answer any other questions you might have. Thank you.
Questions?
I do have one question. When I look at this PSP 04-071, does that mean this was applied for in 2004?
Yes, sir, it was in July of 2004.
Can you give me a quick rundown of why we're here 6 years later? Was the application put on hold? I mean, oftentimes it gets put on hold by even the applicant. So I'd like to know why we're hearing this 6 years late.
I can tell you what I do know, and that is the project planner who was assigned to this project, Beverly Cates, is no longer with the county, and there's no record as to why. Maybe the applicant knows more than I do, but I was unable to locate any specific information in regards to why it was put on hold. I know that it was on hold, but I don't know the reasons for that. Perhaps the applicant can answer that question. After Ms. Cates left the county, the project was assigned to Ms. Metlin, and she diligently worked on it with the help of the applicant and brought it to fruition. But I'm sorry I don't have a more in-depth or more knowledge.
Other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this may step forward at this time.
Hello, my name is Robert Crace. I'm an attorney in Porterville. My office is 132 East Morton Avenue, Porterville, California. I also live in Springville, and I've attended since 2004 several events that have been at River Ridge. And on some occasions, I've left earlier than other people. And I know that while the activity is still going on, it's virtually impossible at the roadside to actually hear what's happening down below in the trees. I don't think there's any problems with noise, light, security, and other items that have been raised. I know that if houses were built along there, there would be much more light, noise, pollution, and other things that have been brought up. Over the last several years, the owners of the property have managed it very well, and there's no reason to suspect that they wouldn't continue to do so. And I know personally, having been involved with Mr. Adis, the owner, he indicated to me his frustration in not being able to have this permit thing resolved much sooner, and he didn't understand why it took so long to come to completion. And I just want to say that I think it's very important that this permit be allowed to the Adises and the appeal be denied.
Thank you. Can we hold our comments to 3 minutes, please, if possible?
Good morning. Brian Newton, 1407 West Laurel Avenue in Visalia. I visited the site many times, and I've been very impressed with the quality of the site. The structures that Mr. Adis has put in are very solid, very strong, and very attractive. They really fit into the environment. On their brochure, they have their partners listed. They've got 20 partners listed as partners for River Ranch. And I just want to read a few of them, maybe 4 or 5. The California Conservation Corps, CCC, California Department of Fish and Game, Kauai Fly Fishers, SciCon, Sequoia Riverlands Trust, Tulare County Office of Education, and the U.S. Forest Service. And I'm on the board of the Tulare County Audubon, and I know that Audubon's not listed there, but we are strong supporters of River Ridge. And I'm trying to visualize, if I'm a neighbor, how close I would have to be negatively impacted by the site. And I think the only impact would be possible noise. And the only noise I can think of would be the music. And I don't see that would be all that offensive. And I think I'd have to be very close because it is kind of in a hollow there. It's just below the road site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shifra Walder, and I'm a resident of Springville. I have also attended numerous activities that are educational. They're multi-generational. I've seen the little kids at the events that include bow and arrow making, and they are participatory events. I've been to music events. I also would like to, because I am slightly handicapped, only slightly, they have all low-facing lights. Mr. Adist is very conscientious of the environment. Their products are biodegradable. Everything is conservation-oriented, and I just appreciate the diverse, multicultural kind of activities they offer. With school funding being cut, you have activities for children to come to enjoy outdoor living where they, possibly wouldn't have that opportunity. I've never been to, I don't go to every event, but I've never been to an event where the noise level was outrageous. I too kind of leave might be 9 o'clock in the evening, and it's not even heard from the parking lot from for where the activity is held. So I support River Ridge and all that they offer to the community at large. Thank you for your time.
My name is Julie Allen. I live at 33311 Globe Drive in Springville. I could speak to you about this project from several points of view. I could speak as a professional planner. I have reviewed the documents, and once staff got going on this project, they did a good job. I can tell you, Mr. Cox, that anonymous sources have told me that, frankly, staff lost this project, not once, but twice, unfortunately. But, as I say, once things got rolling, they rolled. I could speak to you as a wildland manager myself. I spent 30-plus years with the U.S. Forest Service as a planner. I only wish that federal lands could be managed with the sensitivity and care that the doctors Adest and Breidolf administer their own lands. It's really spectacular. But this morning, against all expectations, I will speak to you as a party planner. I have myself planned 2 relatively large events at River Ridge, one of which was the major fundraiser for my Rotary Club, Porterville Downtown Rotary. And I can tell you from firsthand experience the kind of care that Gary Adest exerts in the proper planning of all such events. I have in the past likened him to the very crusty vice principal of a large public high school. There's no way in hell you're going to make any more noise than is absolutely essential when you're having a fairly large event. He is so careful and he is so precise in working with his customers to make clear exactly what his expectations are, that while I can't be in 2 places at once, both in the central portion of the property where the event is going on and at the periphery, it's very hard for me to believe, and indeed others have spoken to this, that you can hear up out of that particular draw. And those of you who have been to River Ridge know that where the center of activity is well below the road in a drainage, a lot of vegetation, lots of screening. But my real point is the care with which Gary Adest carefully prepares his customers, is on site at all times during the events, and he makes it happen. Trust me. The doctors Adest and Breidolf give back a huge amount to our community. And at this time, on behalf of our community, myself and Sequoia Riverlands Trust, I ask that you deny this appeal.
No clapping, please, during the hearing. Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Sophie Mulholland. I live at 33493 Globe Drive in Springville. I'm here today to put a little historical perspective on this particular property and what it brings to the community. As most of you know, I am the Executive Director of Sequoia Riverlands Trust, and I have also served on the Regional Water Quality Control Board. To put a little history behind this property was approved for a very large housing development. It would have been everything that we're looking at that is not smart growth. And there were a lot of people in the community and in the state that said, my gosh, river frontage, beautiful terrain, ability to continue livestock grazing. Let's see if we can raise the money at the state level and bring it to this community and help the doctors to be able to purchase this property. And we did that. And as what I've seen in the last several years is astounding. When we look around and say, why do people love our area? Why do people still want to move here? even though we have incredible poverty and many difficulties, it's places that are very special, like the one that River Ridge has provided. They provide it not only to the Springville area, but for the entire county. People that I know from Los Angeles are buying second homes here, and one of the things they talk about, I had a gentleman here last week, he wants to do something like the ADAS have done because they've created such an amazing place to come to. So I think when I think about 300 houses and the kids and the water pollution and the noise, and I hear that this little teeny 5 acres in the midst of all this open space that is so treasured could be a source of concern to some neighbors. I think we have to put it all in perspective, and I certainly urge you to support this particular project moving forward and to deny the appeal. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. My name is Patricia Torrey. I live at 40,000 Bear Creek Road in Springville, and I speak to you today as a concerned community member. I'm the president of our women's club in Springville and have been a past member of our booster club in our school there. Of course, my children are far past the age of being in school there in Springville, but I do want to say that the River Ridge complex in its entirety has been such a positive thing for our area. And I know that Dr. Gary Adis and his wife Barbara Breidoff have offered their venue, not just in time and energy, but also in monetary aspect. They have given themselves their venue freely to us for fundraisers and educational opportunities for the children in our area, and especially for our gathering, for when we have small gatherings, etc., for our service clubs, which are very important. I look around a community I live in, and as you all will know, we are very rural here in Tulare County, and a place like Springville is only as strong and viable a community as the people there make it, and that means a monstrous volunteer and community effort. And I know that so many people that I work with hand in hand at all times to make our small community work and be better, to make progress and find places and do things with children, whether they're musical programs or storytelling or in any number of things having to do with the agricultural based or the Adis Breidoff combination have done a fabulous job in keeping a tasteful venue, always a tasteful venue. And I have been amidst that from the get-go, I must say. I have seen it go from just pasture land to the small venue that it has become, but always within taste regarding lighting and noise, etc. And I've spent a lot of time there, a lot of time in many different capacities. All I want to say is I do hope you deny this appeal, because I think that this venue and this it's not just a venue. It's a heartfelt project these people have put together, and they never step on anybody's toes. They're very conscientious, and I hope you keep that in consideration.
My name is Mamet McMillan. I'm the director of WOW Places. My address is 37608 Rio Vista Drive in Springville. I represent myself and the board of directors of WOW Places, its members, and its volunteers. There's a whole line of eloquent speakers who can tell the stories of River Ridge, so I'll just keep my comment short. I ask that the board deny the appeal and continue to support River Ridge Ranch and Drs. Breidoff and Adis. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David Myers. I live at 28 West Harrison in Porterville. I work with Mr. Adis. I'm his right-hand man, and I've been there with him for almost 2 years, and he's supported me a job to keep me going. I hope in time you guys would manage to get to go up and see the place. Would like to see you guys up there, just let you know what we are going through, and I just hope you guys deny this. It's a shame, but if you ever get a chance, please come up and see the ranch. It is wonderful because he keeps me going in a job. That's what I like, because I used to live in up there in Springville when I was 10 years old. My whole family lived up there. They worked at the Springville Hospital. My mother, all my on my dad's and my mom's side. So I have ties up there. So with Mr. Adolph, he's helping the community up there with all due respect for everything. It's just a wonderful thing for me to get out of Porterville to come back up to the community where I was growing up when I was little. And I hope you guys, all of you, would please try to deny this and give him grandicy to this and keep him going, because he helps not just me, he helps everybody else in the community of Springville and Porterville and the surrounding areas. And if he goes, then I leave. Then that's a disaster that I don't want to see, because he brings the kids up there for everybody, even wild places. We have they have their stuff up there. It's just a disaster waiting to happen for developing to take over and not have a place for the kids. The main thing is for the kids and for them to enjoy the outdoors and for the river, and for everybody else to come up and enjoy the quietness and to hear the wind. If you ever hear the wind through there or the river, it's wonderful. But if it goes, then that's the end of it. But I do thank you for letting me share my comments with you guys. And this is my first time with this. And that's why I'm supporting my boss anyway. So I just wanted to thank you for letting us speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I make one quick comment? You do not have to take the entire 3 minutes to speak if you're in support of the project. If you have something new to add, that's kind of what I'm listening for. I'm listening for something new.
Good morning. Jith Meganathan. I live at 35892 Alta Drive in Springville, and I would like to add something new to the conversation, and that is the many economic benefits that River Ridge Ranch brings to Tulare County. About 5 years ago, my wife and I who was then my fiance, were looking for a place to get married. We wanted to get married in Tulare County, even though our families live out of state, and wanted us to have our weddings there. When we saw River Ridge Ranch, we knew it was the place we wanted to have our wedding because it exemplified the beauty of this place that we live in. We brought in over 200 guests, most of whom were from out of the area or out of state. I would estimate that this brought in $100,000 to Tulare County, both from the cost of our wedding, hotel rooms, people eating meals at restaurants, catering, renting cars, and going up to the parks. One of our friends who lives in Fresno County watched our wedding video, decided she wanted to have her wedding here. Again, I would guess probably brought in $100,000 in that wedding. In addition to all the values that the other speakers have spoken about, River Ridge Ranch has serious monetary value for our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I brought this opposition. Is it my turn to speak now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name is Michael G., and I reside at 37865 Balch Park Road in Springville. We share about a 1,000-foot property line with River Ridge, and I'm here asking you to deny the project. I don't have enough time to tell you about the errors, the issues, the exaggerations, bias, and intimidation we've had to deal with since this started. I will try to describe some of the major things, though. 8 pages in the documents we received were missing. We brought it to the attention of Dana Metland, but were told no missing pages. I see in the latest report we just received that it was addressed somewhere else in the document. How are we to know this? The vote on the project was scheduled for the morning after the close of the 30-day review. Seems to me like we were going to pass that no matter what responses we turned in. The paperwork contains errors. County says all accurate and complete. No, they're not. Some pages are missing. Some are older than 6 years. Like the final site map from 2004. County ordinance states that they're only good for 2 years.
Review to our response by the board at August 25th meeting started off by us telling the board that there were missing pages again in the documents and our replies. Every packet the board had was missing pages of our responses. It was obvious to us that they hadn't even read them or they would have noticed the missing pages. Although we made several phone calls and emailed Dana Metland about getting copies of this response for the August 25th meeting, we never heard from her. Instead, we received a copy the afternoon before the meeting. Noise. Staff was out at River Ridge and did their own sound check with the help of the applicant. Their findings were published in the documents for the August 25th meeting. Had our submissions been read, it would have been known how sound works and had drops by 6 decibels every time the distance is doubled from the source. The study was not impartial, nor was it realistic decibel level for the type of events he holds. Wedding, concerts, parties are typically in the 100 to 120 decibel range. On page 70, under the recreation, common numbers are 100 at a school dance with a boombox, 110 for disco, and 120 for a band concert. Publishing unrealistic sound levels biased the board against us for River Ridge. Information on page 54, paragraph 2, the most recent document, states that 10 decibel increase is perceived as the doubling of the sound. The perceived level is 2.5 times with an ambient level of 36 to 40 and a 65 limit at the property line. There is something in the description of assembly people that greatly concerns us, and it should you too. There are 2 types of functions. Aren't they both assemblages of people? At the end of both description is the abbreviation ETC. Etc. means unspecified and extra not accounted for. That means any and everything can occur. It is very clever for the applicant to include this, but is it really a good idea to prove something with the words etc.? I don't believe that the studies were made to include etc. I find it impossible to believe that studies were based on 365 days of events, functions, unlimited number of people, with a finding of insignificant. This etc. exposes adjacent property owners to others to unknown impacts that we can't comment on. How is that significant? Here's a list of some of the things that are significant to us. Applicant is able to produce noise above limits. Most noise is produced when code enforcement is closed and the sheriff is not equipped to handle the complaints. Hotline does not respond or the number is not working.
Could I get you to bring this to a conclusion, please?
I have 2 more pages. Do you want me to stop here? Because, okay, I would, okay. No one has addressed the impacts of the blacksmithing will have, although this is mentioned, and how much noise it was produced. We are asking for an appeal citing section 16 of Ordinance 252. The ambient sound will be permanently raised due to the granting of the special use permit. Under the Planning Commission policy and precedent, it states that approval can only be granted if approval of said use will not adversely affect nearby residents and property. We have repeatedly asked told you that it affects us. The project was started in 2004, 6 years ago. Too long a time for problems we have brought forward not to be corrected, addressed adequately, or failing mention. Therefore, this project should be denied. Thanks for your time.
Do we have a copy of the letter you read?
Hello, thank you for seeing us. My name is Karen G. and I live at 37865 Balch Park in Springville. I'm here today to ask that you approve our appeal and deny the special use permit to River Ridge Ranch. In the beginning, we didn't start out not wanting this. We thought he was doing good things there. We still do, but he's not taking into consideration about being a good neighbor. Not one of the people who have spoke have come to our home and witnessed outside of the noise what's going on our side. They're inside of the noise. We've offered to have the county come out there to witness this, and we weren't taken up on it. I want to tell you about the county documents and negative declarations. They were incomplete, incorrectly compiled. They lacked up-to-date revision studies and site plan. I want to tell you about the lack of review on our responses at both planning and land use meetings. I want you to know how the information and studies were done and how the findings, I want to know how the information and studies was done and how the findings were made without considering the full potential impact of 365 days of use. I want to ask you how approval of a special use permit without conditions for the impact on the neighbors was granted. I will tell you how we have been treated by the applicant, the project planner, and the Planning and Land Use Board members. I can't recall all the details contained in the many documents we've received and read from the county, nor the responses we have submitted in the subject of River Ridge Ranch. And since we have submitted copies to your office, you have our concerns on file, and I refer you back to our responses. I spoke with Gary prior to buying our current home. He did not mention once that he was applying for a special use permit. Had he done that, I wouldn't have bought that property. I asked Gary Adest at the July 7th, 2010 meeting why he didn't disclose that he applied for a special use permit. He said he forgot because it had been going on so long. No one forgets this. If he had forgot this important information, if he hadn't forgotten the important information, we would not be here today because we would have bought somewhere else. The property owners of River Ridge are not interested in being good neighbors. They have shown that they are concerned only for their own personal interest and gain. They've had years and opportunity to complete many of the conditions for the issuance of the special use permit and still have not done so. They've disregarded the regulations, laws, and safety of people and are operating River Ridge events without a permit. They continue to do so now. They have been allowed to openly operate without a permit. Gary Dest, the applicant, incorrectly states that we've called him only twice in the past. Being a good neighbor, instead of calling the sheriff, we called Gary first to allow him to handle our complaint. I now realize he acted so promptly, not because of concern for us, but because if we had made an official complaint, it would have been on record and would now be used against the issuance of the special use permit. In hindsight, had I known what he was up to, I would have called the sheriff in the past to substantiate our complaints. In response to all the people who wrote or spoke on behalf of granting the special use permit, they do not have River Ridge as a neighbor. Lucky them. Not one person was concerned about what the impact River Ridge had on the people living nearby. Their only concern was about their pleasure and the pleasure of others. Why is it that what they said carries more weight than us, an adjoining property owner? How is it the desire to use this property in a way that will cause discomfort and financial loss to us, that adjoining property owner be permitted? It keeps getting said that the uses he's asking for is permitted. It is permitted only with a special use permit. Otherwise, he wouldn't need one. It is my understanding that one can only be granted if it will not cause any of the issues we have told you of. Concerning the granting of the special use permit without consideration for the adjoining property owners with the potential for unlimited use relating to operating hours, number of days, and duration of events. The special use permit was approved with the potential of being operated 24 hours per day, 365 days of the year. Although the owner, Gary Adest, says he's not going to take advantage of the full potential, there's nothing to stop him from doing so. What if he turned the management over to someone else or he sells the property? The new manager owner could decide...
Time is up. Your time is up.
Please finish.
No, your time is up. I warned you earlier and you wouldn't stop, so your time is up.
Hello. My name is Catherine Ward. I live at 38003 Balch Park Road. I live the third house down from the Gees and just down from River Ridge, so we're talking about my neighborhood too. I think a lot of what I have read seems to be perception. And perception, a lot of times we have choice. Positive or negative. There were so many things listed, and I looked at that list and I thought, holy cow, I'm guilty of a lot of those things too. Am I going to have to come here and defend myself? And I feel really fortunate. I have great neighbors. And I've lived there 20 years, and like a lot of people, I moved there, had my little fantasy of the quiet little country place. And little did I know, it's like a freeway. So we're in the real world. And, I thought about it, and my neighbors, whom I adore, I'm grateful for, I started thinking about, boy, that person makes some noise over there. Somebody up the road, up the driveway across the road, gave their kid a new gun, and it's like Armageddon half the time. But that's their right. And my husband, he uses a weed blower. It's so politically incorrect, and it's noisy, it stinks, and I think he's the only one around who uses one, probably cannot teach that old dog new trick. I have many neighbors with children, a lot of parties, many times during the year, and sometimes trespass. I just would never think about complaining about them. And as far as property values, I would absolutely disclose River Ridge. I would say get on the email list. I've met more neighbors and saw them enjoy themselves and enjoying the event I've sat there and thought how fortunate I am that this is available and how diverse. And I have also gone over on my own to observe a wedding that I was not invited to, just to see the kind of control that was dealt with there. And I am in walking distance, and occasionally I do hear voices, something like that, but unless you're looking for it, you can be disturbed.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Scott Spear, 3746 West Mill Creek Drive. I'm chairman of the board of Sequoia Riverlands Trust. What I would like to bring to the table or call to your attention, River Ridge is first and foremost a small business, which is the backbone of the American culture. Gary brings money to the county, and more importantly, the county offers tremendous natural resource beauty. He absolutely showcases this, provides environmental education to kids of all ages. So I strongly recommend that you deny this appeal and see that River Ridge continues for the future. He's doing a great job educating the youth and showcasing what we in Tulare County really have a strong thing, and that is the natural resources. Thank you.
Joan Stewart, 37759 Highway 190, on the middle fork of the Tule River, which is just over the hill from River Ridge, which is on the north fork of the Tule River. And I'm here to speak on behalf of certain neighbors. These are not human neighbors. These are I'm retired from UC California as an aquatic botanist. I'm on the river, he's on the river. I have reason to visit his stretch of North Fork, compare it with, all I can say is that the aquatic life along the North Fork, which is adjacent to this use site, which is used occasionally for these other events, that aquatic vegetation, the riparian life there is absolutely beautifully tended. There's been no impact on it whatsoever, and as others have indicated, the natural resource is top of the list as far as the management of River Ridge goes. So that's my comment.
My name's Gary Hunstein. I live at 40890 Blue Oak Drive. This is several miles north or out Balch Park Road. My comments are basically on noise. We've heard about noise, but there's another source of noise, and that's Mother Nature's noise. The North Fork of the Tule River is a very noisy river. Here in another month, we get some big rains. It's not a flat river, it's full of boulders, and the water churns. It makes lots of noise. I live a half mile from it, and I can step outside and hear it. That noise continues all through spring when the snow melts. So living next to a river is living in a very noisy position. Living next to Balch Park Road, well, Balch Park Road's a noisy road because, one, it was chip sealed many years ago, and anybody who's lived alongside a chip seal road knows that every vehicle makes noise. Now let's look, what do you use Balch Park Road for? If you look up in the mountains there, you've got the state sequoias there, you've got 5 fishable lakes, 3 of them I know are serviced by Fish and Game to make sure there's enough trout for kids to fish on. So you have literally all summer long thousands of people driving up that road. Now, when the kids are out of school, Friday night until late is very noisy because people get off work Friday night. They head to the mountains. They might not get up there till 10, 11 o'clock or even later. So the source of noise is there. It's unfortunate that people who aren't rural have backgrounds, don't understand this, and they end up in places maybe they shouldn't or wouldn't want to be. But that's a source of noise that none of us can deal with. It exists up there. I think we've heard a lot about how the owners have worked hard to modify and control their noise. And personally, I think they're doing a good job. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Johnson. I live at 8137 Road 248 in Terabella. I'm just here to reiterate what numerous other people have stated. I've only had the opportunity and privilege to visit River Ridge one time, and I was totally struck by the signs, to keep the dust down, the noise down, everything. And I went there with my 4-year-old grandson. We could not leave a potato chip crumb on there so that we wouldn't disturb the balance of what was going on there. It's just a wonderful place. We would be at a real loss if it was not made available to the residents. So I support the denial of the appeal. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Patricia Arndt. I live at 38107 Balch Park Road. I am the nearest neighbor on the east side of the river next to River Ridge. And my husband and I are in hopes that this appeal will be denied. We have no problems with River Ridge or their noise, and we hope they live long and prosper. Thank you.
I'm Eleanor Norris. I live at 41463 Yocol Valley Drive, Springville. I won't repeat all the wonderful things that have already been said. I do underline them. I've watched what Gary and Barbara have been doing with River Ridge for many years with great respect and admiration, and I do urge you to deny this appeal and allow their good works to continue. Thank you.
Nikki Edwards, 13096 Road 208 in Porterville. I just want to put into the record that this facility does not operate 365 days a year. They probably have, I've been told, 15 to 20 major events and maybe 30 smaller ones. So we're talking about a very, very small window of time for the neighbors to be annoyed. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David Prestige. I'm camp director of Camp Country Jamboree. This is a camp for cancer-challenged kids aged 5 to 14 and their siblings. It's held annually. This camp is furnished entirely free of charge to the families. We do not have any big donors or organizations behind us. We are able to do this because of the largesse and generosity of kind-hearted community individuals, businesses. It's our local camp. River Ridge Ranch is furnished to us. The facility is furnished to us free of charge. And that's probably the biggest reason why our camp has been able to, this is going to be our 6th year coming up. This camp is looked forward to by these kids as the biggest thing that they do all year long. And I, too, am very much in favor of this appeal being denied.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, 5-minute break, please. We have a 5-minute break, please.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. If I could make an announcement, there was a...
Bang your gavel.
If I could make an announcement, there was a driver's license found out in the foyer, Evelyn Cortesco. Evelyn Cortesco. So if that person is here and they've lost their driver's license, they found it out in the foyer. Okay, this meeting is back in session.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I apologize for my back to you. My mother would have never permitted that. My name is Gary Adest. I live at 35489 Ward Avenue in Springville. I do not live at 37675 Balch Park Drive in Springville. Which brings me to the point that River Ridge Ranch, of which my wife and I are the owners, does not have a dwelling on it. There are 722 acres that are unoccupied virtually all of the year. The Resource Management Agency, via the Planning Commission, has restricted our commercial activity to 25 days per year. That means that as a businessman, I need to make a viable living 25 days a year and no more. It does not leave me a lot of upsides for the business. For the record, this is the postcard I received from the Planning Commission acknowledging their receipt of my special use permit application in August of 2002. When I submitted that application, I was 53 years old. Tomorrow, I will receive my first Social Security check. Now, I could speak to you for an hour, but I will try and be on point. I am sympathetic to my neighbors, Michael and Karen G., to my neighbors, Don and Sandy Negus, who have raised issues with us in the past about sounds. I will be the last person to testify that there are no sounds emanating from River Ridge Ranch. We are, however, by the 40 approximate restrictions imposed upon us by the county, restricted to end all of our events at 11 p.m. That means that there can be no sound past 11 p.m. on a maximum of 25 days per year. I am not allowed to hold events on any weekdays, and as a result, it would seem to me, given the 65 decibel limit of sound at the property line, that it would be virtually impossible for us, unless we were flagrant violators, to significantly disturb any of our neighbors for a long period of time. This is a digital sound pressure level meter I purchased after the hearing in July because of the concerns raised by my neighbors. This is a log of all events that have occurred at River Ridge Ranch since we reopened on September of 2010. You have copies in your packets of the readings from those logs. I gave up going to the property line to take readings when I realized that 200 feet from the source of the sound, we never reached the limit imposed by the county. The readings in front of the G's house on Balch Park Drive have reached 85 decibels from the traffic going by. The sound of the wind whistling through the cottonwoods is approximately 50 to 55 decibels. Also in your packet are copies of an email I sent to the G's in advance of the first hearing, asking for their input. I received none, and a copy of a letter I recently sent to the G's showing them that I have now restricted sound further by prohibiting DJs from bringing subwoofers to any events. So I would like to close by saying it's been over 8 years. I would like a ruling today, if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Questions?
I do have, before we go into closed session, I do have a couple of quick questions of staff. Charlotte.
Yes, sir.
He made the comment about the 25 events. The way I read your response on your letter here is no more than 25 commercial events.
That's correct.
Is there a definition of commercial events? Because I'm wondering if the cancer camp for kids that might be held during the week qualifies as a commercial event.
No, it does not qualify as a commercial event. Commercial
So is there
events
a clear
would be
definition of commercial events?
private parties, paid for events like weddings, those types of events, but the Cancer for Kids event is not a commercial event, no.
What else would not be a commercial event then?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Cox, the definition of commercial events from a planning land use standpoint, it is simply the exchange of money. So if they rent the facilities or do business that where they exchange money, that constitutes a commercial event. A wedding would be a good example of that. There could be others. A nonprofit or a gathering of family members for a birthday or something like that where they're not renting the place would not count.
Is a commercial event also one day? Are there commercial events that last 2 days? I'm trying to be specific here for a
considerable,
reason.
yeah.
It's considered 1 day.
No, it's conceivable that there's no time limit on the definition, so it's conceivable that it could go beyond 1 day.
So a commercial event could be a weekend event, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no more questions, then we will adjourn to closed session.
That's item A on your board's closed session agenda.
Okay. Board's back in session.
Mr. Chairman, I move denial of the appeal, and I want to make clear to the applicant of the special use permit, you have to comply and sign all the documents that have been presented for your approval. But I move for the denial of the appeal.
And I will second that, but I hate going into closed session and coming out without saying, after discussing the legal issues that were potentially raised during the hearing, the board has come to the conclusion after speaking with our legal counsel that it has. So with that, I would second the motion by Supervisor Ishida.
Motion by Supervisor Ishida, seconded by Supervisor Vanderpool. Vote. Unanimous. To deny the appeal. Okay, let's
go back to
okay, let's move to
item 6.
Item 6.
Item 6. Let's move to item 6, please. Request from General Services, Property Management. Okay.
Hi, Marilyn.
Michelle, have we gotten any sealed bids?
Do we not have someone here?
No sealed bids.
Gene,
Mike.
Read the second paragraph.
I don't have.
No sealed bids. Here's mine.
The minimum.
There have been no bids?
They have until November 9th.
Okay, there are no written bids on this property. The chairman still asks if there's anyone that would like to submit an oral bid equal to the greater than $184,005 minimum bid. Any additional oral bids in the audience? Okay, if there's no conforming written or oral bids,
$1 bid.
we'll just consider this action closed for the day. Okay.
Right.
Okay, let's go to item 7. Request from Agricultural Commissioner Sealer to approve proposed fee schedule related to device registrations.
Ellie Green Giant here, Marilyn Kenosha. Today I'm here as the sealer, though. We spend about 73% of our time in our Weights and Measures Division in our Consumer Protection Program of device registration and inspections. And currently, our fees haven't been reviewed for quite a number of years, and they do not provide sufficient level of cost recovery for that device registration program. So the State Business and Professions Code allows for a county board of supervisors to recover costs associated with device registration. And in late 2005, the governor signed legislation that requires that the annual device registration fee, which occurs starting January 1st, it must consist of a business location fee and a device fee. And so currently, our fee structure does not comply with that statute. So what I'm proposing is that we do something over the course of a 2-year period, which this is half the schedule. You have yours on one sheet with our current schedule off to the left-hand side. And it would provide in 2011 a cost recovery of 52%. We're currently at 29%. And in 2012, we would be right at 97% cost recovery, which is allowed by those code sections. It's Business and Professions Codes 12-240. And so this is very complex, and you can't really match up apples to apples with our current schedule because we have a lot of devices that are currently lumped into a range of fees. So I thought I would give you a couple of examples. A mobile home park owner or perhaps a apartment manager would have 12 electric or vapor or water meters. They're currently paying $84 to cover the cost of the 12 inspections. In 2011 and 12, they would be paying $124. A lot of these fees are based on the type of device, the level of inspection intensity, and the rate at which you inspect. You know, some are on an annual basis, some are 2-year, some are on a 10-year rotation. So a livestock scale, we've got some in some very remote locations. We're hauling out our heavy capacity weight truck, and currently we collect a $40 fee for each one of those scales. If there were even 3 scales at one location, over 10,000 pound capacity, we're still only collecting $40. And so under the 2011 fee proposal, those owners would be paying $125, and then in 2012, when it's bumped up to the maximum levels, it's $250. Farmers market scales, we're proposing, since all those scales which are under a 250-pound capacity, they're brought into our office for testing. So our inspectors walk down the hall to the lab to test those. So we're proposing no location fee for those devices in support of our Taste Tulare County program that we've got, and the fees would be $20 for both both calendar years. A fuel station, like a truck stop that had 60 devices, one pump has 3 devices because each grade of gasoline is considered a device. They're currently paying $160, so their fees would bump up to $650 and then $700 in 2012. So people with numerous devices, that one happens to have a cap of $1,000, but that truck stop could also have deli scales or a livestock scale. And I'd say virtually every county in the state, since the law changed in 2006, have gone at maximum rates to recoup costs. I'm just listing our surrounding counties that have all gone to the maximum rate, except Kern County has a few exceptions for their oil industry. They have other fees associated with it, but for the most part, Kern County has gone to the maximum level. So we're talking about $88,800 in additional revenue in the current fiscal year, and the following fiscal year, $172,000. What we did is we're mindful of the impact that this has on our industry. So we sent out letters to all 972 affected businesses that have commercial weighing and measuring devices, and we gave them the code section, the proposed fees, and a letter. and we received 4 calls. And if you want to know what they said, we just had 2 people that were interested in, because the schedule is kind of complex, they wanted to know where they fit into the schedule, so they were fine with that. One person represented a water dispensary device, and they do business throughout the state, so they recognize that our fees are among the lowest. He had some questions about sharing location fees with other entities, but there are problems associated with that, because who pays the full fee and who gets the half-price fee? So it's not really fair to one of those parties. And the other person thought our fees were already too high.
Well, Marilyn, these fees haven't been changed since 1995, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, it's inevitable that things have gone up, and cost of labor and everything. So, I mean, this is just more or less trying to recoup our costs. Yeah.
Well, especially during this time, it's not easy to increase fees, but seeing that these fees have not been touched since 1995, thank you, Gary Kunkel. You know, it's important that we, especially in the increased cost environment that we face, that we can recoup as many fees as much of our costs as possible.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to talk to the board on this issue? Seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Discussion?
Just real quick, typically this board's had a practice of not increasing more than 10% per year, and I know we've talked about that in the past. And is there a good reason why we're ignoring that rule of thumb? That's what we kind of placed on RMA when they came to us with fees that were severely outdated like this.
I think when you look at compounded fees and what we haven't done in over the years, I think it'd make that threshold just on present and future value of a dollar.
Okay.
Gene Rousseau, County Administrative Officer. I believe the 10% was limited to the water and sewer fees. I believe other fees we have certainly surpassed the 10%, but we're very cognizant of it's just for cost recovery, and the fees that the Ag Commissioner are bringing forward to this board are going to be tiered and not go to the maximum until next fiscal year to help the businesses adjust and budget accordingly.
Right, so we're making a 2-year step.
Correct.
Yes,
and I promise that we will review fees on an annual basis.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion made by
I'll
Supervisor
second.
Cox, second by Supervisor Vanderpool. Place our votes. Vote is unanimous. Okay. Okay, let's move to item 8. Request from Health and Human Services Agency to approve a $2 increase in birth certificate fees.
John Davis, Health and Human Services Agency. I'm really here representing 2 groups, 2 collaboratives. One's the Child Abuse Coordinating Council, and the other is the Children's Services Network, both of which represent both public and private entities come together to coordinate services for children. Both of them are designated by your board in slightly different capacities to manage some state and federal monies and some local monies already. And they do this for your board in coordination with the agency. I guess the other point I'd like to make is that the 2 organizations that are requesting this are working very closely with our Child Protective Services. And one of the changes we made in the last several years is that we've asked these folks to come forward and to be involved in our strategic planning for child welfare services and in our policy setting, the kinds of things we bring for you for final ratification. In this, those 2 groups are asking us to increase our fees by $2. Excuse me. Every other place that we looked at, and we did do a kind of sample around the state, is charging the maximum amount now. We would hope that we could do that today, that your board would call a public hearing, and then at the close, hopefully, your board can make the decision to increase these fees by $2 a fee, or a birth certificate. recognizing that many of these requests are from people outside our county who have left our county, and we're dispersing in some ways the cost of this well beyond our borders. I wonder if there are any questions from the board.
Questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Opening the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the board on this issue?
Good morning, or afternoon. Thank you for the chance to speak on this. My name is Billy Schall. I represent the Tulare County Child Abuse Prevention Council. It's been in existence as a freestanding nonprofit since 1982 and is your, we submit our recommendations to you on the allocations of the Children Trust Fund account. We also use that trust fund account to provide the prevention services of the CAPC, and I know you recognize me from Blue Ribbon. I thank you for participating in that, and those of you who came and saw the LISA project, you got to see in action the prevention efforts that we are trying to step up in this county, recognizing that it will diminish the agony, the tragedy of child abuse and neglect over time, and create a social environment where our children are more protected and we as a society feel responsible for all of our children. So we also are made up of nonprofits, public and private agencies that provide services to families and children. Many of those people were going to speak to you today, and there's been a sort of an attrition over time. So the Tulare Youth Service Bureau, CASA, others that Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Synchrony, other mental health organizations, all of these that family service resource centers. And the idea is that we will use this additional funding to provide also additional services. We believe that if we step in and help and strengthen families, we can keep them out of the foster care system, and you already heard how expensive that is. So there are many reasons, and the Child Abuse Prevention Council for Tulare County and its member agencies, of which I'm here to speak for, urge you to approve this increase. It will only help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Karen Cooper. I'm the current chair of the Children's Services Network, and I'm also a 26-year member of the Child Abuse Prevention Council, and I'm here also to recommend that you approve this increase. Again, we're sensitive to issues around fees. This is another one that has not been raised for a long time. It is permitted by statute. The amount we're asking for is the maximum permitted, and it has already taken place in most of our neighboring counties. I'm speaking, and the whole line behind me is not here, which is great, so I'm speaking for all of the organizations that were mentioned, plus First Five who was represented, the probation department. This is a very collaborative group that works in the Children's Trust Fund, and we do try to focus these funds on prevention, meaning that they're focused on the responsibility of parents to raise their children in a safe environment and a healthy environment so children can reach their potential. We're trying to equip parents to do that so that it's not the role of government. So please consider this, and thank you very much.
Anyone else wanting to support or to approach the board? Seeing none, close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, being very familiar with what this money will benefit and the groups that it goes to, very supportive of their activities, recognizing that this is not a great time to be raising fees, and here we go again twice in one day. This will mean literally pennies to each family in this county, even if they need to get this. So I would make the motion to approve.
Okay. Motion made by Supervisor Cox.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Sheeta. Cast your votes. Unanimous. Okay, let's move on to Item number 38, Workforce Investment Board of Tulare County.
Excuse me, 37.
Okay, we can do 37.
Well, look, it's me again.
Yeah, sorry, John.
It's John Davis, Health and Human Services Agency Director. You have before you a resolution that adds about 117 individuals to the agency. I'd like to take a few minutes and just basically put a background on this because the agenda item itself specifies who and where, but I'm not sure that the general population has a good idea of what you and your board have been through in the last, say, 3 years. 2 years ago, we had a major wall we hit when the realignment sales tax went through the floor and the recession began. At that time, we let approximately 130 people go. We had 475 positions we eliminated. The difference between those two are people we didn't have to let go because we put a hiring freeze in place, we ended some contracts, and we did a ton of work when we saw where the curve was going. And by the time we got to your board, it was down to about 130 people. That was, in some sense, tragic as it was. At least it wasn't the 475 people that would have been necessary to leave had we not seen this problem and anticipated it a bit. So we get through that, and in those 3 years, or 2.5 years now or so that we've come, our caseloads are actually increasing. They'd actually started this a little before the recession, and we brought this to your board's attention, but it wasn't anything for alarm until we had a major recession. And then the poverty programs that we run, particularly eligibility for food stamps, Medi-Cal, Tulare Works, those increased. We've given you lots of figures over the last several weeks and months and years, but I think this one really sums it up. If we look back 3 years, our caseload has increased along those 3 poverty programs taken together, 42%. If you pass this resolution and add 117 folks, we will be back to the level we were at 3 years ago in staffing, real bodies. So we're going to go back 3 years, staff up to that level, and carry 42% more caseload. That says something for our staff, I think. Probably want to mention that, and if I could recommend them to you on this issue. It's a huge caseload they're carrying. Reason why this is of concern, and your board has heard this as well, but the reason why we should all be concerned in the county is that if we don't meet our mandates, requirements, the grant requirements, all the things that the federal and state governments put on us, then in fact we're fined, penalized, sanctioned, and otherwise our grants are lowered in outgoing years. So we run the risk of digging a hole for ourselves if we don't keep ourselves meeting those requirements and doing so as best we can with the staff that your board feels we can manage. We've been very conservative in coming back to your board and trying to staff up positions. We were here 7, 8 months ago, and we told you then that we could only do a few positions. We weren't comfortable with how the state was handling its budget. I don't know that we'll ever be as comfortable ever again as we were maybe 10 years ago with the state budgets, but I do think that we've hit a place where we feel a little more secure. That we weren't cut this year. We see that our grants are kind of flattened out and level, and in some cases the federal government is providing initiative funds, and part of this resolution in front of you is to increase staff in WIC or in the family visiting program that we have over in health. The bulk, however, as you recognize, is in the poverty programs, and we'll be hiring up staff that'll meet the public. It's the front line and their supervisors that are predominantly there in front of you, and we want to make sure that we do that and meet our obligations without having any kind of sanctions come our way. There is an issue here about match. We brought our match into the budget earlier. We think that we have enough to survive. This is about 5%, which is fairly low in terms of the amount of dollars that we're asking your board for. I want to make a couple extra points, I guess. One is that directly behind me is an agenda item that reduces staff. I've been in discussions with Adam and with HR&D, Tim, and we've done some preliminary discussions on how we'll try to match those people with our needs and make sure that the impact is lessened as much as possible. We did a lot of that when we had the big turn down 2 years ago. In one case, and we have, I think HR&D has already prepared a modification for you, but I'd ask you to modify what's in front of you today to include one staff member coming across, a facilities attendant, and that deserves some explanation because it's not in your agenda item. That individual is out at our Porterville One Stop. We already pay on some cost distribution plan the bulk of his salary. With the reductions that are going on and the change in orientation from WIB, it's really our responsibility, and I ask for you to have that in your resolution to accept that revision. Other than that, I think I'd be open for any questions your board has at this time.
Just a comment that I would add, John. You know, it's great to see that we're able to add on employees during this time in this economy. But you made the point that how important it is to recognize our existing employees for the increased workload that they are handling, and that is really true. I mean, 3 years ago, same staffing, but with 43% more work. That says a lot about our employees. They're working hard, they're carrying more loads, but they're thankful to have their job, and they do work hard, and we are very thankful to have employees that are willing to take on the burden that we place upon them just to make it through these times. So I applaud our employees in your shop, and I look forward to bringing on additional good people to help carry out the mission that you set forth with. So
thank you for that. I'd like to add they're working smarter too. There's been about 5 years of change in the computer systems and in the way in which we do business. Those business changes have helped us a lot, but you're absolutely right. They're working well and hard.
Just a quick comment, and you mentioned it, but I want to kind of point it out. This is a good news, bad news. The good news is we're able to bring back and build up our workforce and employ some people. The bad news is this is being caused by the downturn of the economy, and each one of those people that we bring back will serve several. So, you know, we talk about the 117. Let's not forget the 1,000 or thousands that those 117 will be serving while they're gainfully employed. So, good news, bad news. I think we just ought to remember that we are still building our way out of this recession, and that it's going to be some time, even though we're coming back to our original staffing levels, which I've seen, contradicting reports of, and I'm glad to hear you say that. We're going to be back to that current level of staffing. We're still building our way out, and I'm glad that you're remaining cautious, and we're moving forward cautiously with both eyes open towards our future budget. So I do support this, but again, it's this two-edged sword, good news because of bad news.
Supervisor Sheeta?
I want to admit something today. When I was a candidate for this office 6 years ago, I was under the perception that Human Health Services was too large of an agency to be managed well. When you have 2,000 employees, half the employees in the county are under one agency. As an outsider, I looked at it that it may not be as efficient as it should be. Sometimes larger is not better. But I'm here today to say that I was wrong in that perception. I've watched over the last 6 years how we've been able to shift employees as funding has changed to keep a stable employment base for a lot of our employees in Human Health Services. And this is another shift that we're being able to make, increasing employees and helping out a sister agency and maybe absorbing some of their employees. It's something that the Board of Supervisors have always said about our programs is when the money disappears, so will our staffing will also diminish. And when money does reappear, our staffing will follow the needs of hiring more people. So with the super agency of Human Health Services, it made us very flexible on how we handle the budget. And I support this measure that we're able to add employees. And I also would like to thank the management and our current employees for doing what they've been doing. And I also like to thank something that happened 5 or 6 years ago when Supervisor Worthley and Supervisor Conway made a push to bring our IT level up higher than it was. And we were successful in doing that, and we're often asked, Supervisor Worthley asked, Supervisor Cox asked, what have we gained from upgrading our IT? What basically you're telling us today, we're more efficient at what we do. So, thank you.
Yeah, we so much are at the mercy of state and federal funds when we're, that's what drives our Health and Human Service Agency. So it is very critical that we stay within our means, and now we've got the extra money. It's good. And appreciate your work and all the employees' hard work. As Supervisor Vanderpool said, very, very appreciative of your hard work.
On behalf of the agency, thank you all.
Chair, I'd make the motion to approve this item.
Motion made by Supervisor Cox, second by Supervisor Vanderpool. Mr. Your votes, it's a unanimous. Motion carries. Okay, item 38, reorganization of Workforce Investment Board of Tulare County. Adam?
Morning, Supervisor, CAO, Council. I said good morning, good afternoon, excuse me, not to rub it in further. Adam Peck, the Executive Director of the Workforce Investment Board of Tulare County. The item before the board today is a request to approve a reorganization of the Workforce Investment Board, also known as the WIB. The adjustments requested include the deletion of 17 positions and the addition of 5 positions in a different capacity. The WIB maintains staffing levels during the economic downturn to help administer the $8.9 million the WIB received in American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funding. WIB staff levels remained the same to support the work of the one-stop operators and the increased workloads in the Employment Connection Career Centers associated with the short-term increase in funding levels and the heavy flow of job seekers impacted by the economic downturn. With nearly all of the ARA funding expended, however, the WIB will now have to recommend reorganization. The return to traditional funding levels necessitates the completion of the transition of the WIB to an organization focused on overseeing the workforce development system and the administrative duties involved in that capacity, rather than providing services directly to job seekers. Employment Connection Centers, of course, will remain open and continue to be run by the subcontracted one-stop operators with no additional funding going to those operators. Employment Connection Centers offer career coaching, training scholarships, job leads, and workshops to help residents find a job or improve their job skills. I'd like to briefly explain the history of the relationship between the WIB and the county to clarify why the Board of Supervisors is tasked with action in this matter. In May of 2000, the Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution designating the WIB as the local workforce investment board, and then a following agreement for services between the WIB and the County of Tulare entered into in January of 2001 provided the basis for the WIB to engage the county to provide staff services to support WIB activities. The agreement states that, quote, the WIB and the county shall jointly determine the level of staff required to carry out its responsibilities in administering programs under the Workforce Investment Act, end of quote. So though the WIB acts with substantial independent authority and uses no county general funds, decisions regarding WIB staffing levels must be approved by the Board of Supervisors. The WIB developed this reorganization plan with the assistance from HR&D. Additionally, the officers of the WIB and the Board of Supervisors liaison to the WIB have been briefed and are in agreement with the requested action. I do want to make clear that this recommendation is not a reflection of my opinion of the work these employees have done for the WIB. I deeply appreciate the years of hard work each of the affected individuals has provided to the job seekers of this community and to the county itself. We've already begun working with human resources in an effort to secure other county employment opportunities for those impacted by this action, including, as Mr. Davis mentioned, discussion with HHSA to coordinate opportunities for affected WIB employees that may become available due to the preceding HHSA agenda item. And of course, the 5 positions that we are adding, there'll be many of the affected staff that'll have opportunity to apply and be selected for those positions as well. So subject to your questions, that concludes my remarks.
Questions?
No.
Well, you know, we always hate to see people being laid off, but we also have to look at our different divisions as they are, and they have to be run like a business, and we have to sometimes streamline. And so I hate it in the worst way. We have to lay people off, but yet we have to move forward, and we have to be viable, and the WIB has to be viable. So,
Mr. Chair, just to make a comment, you know, on the last agenda item, Supervisor Cox said this is a really a good news, bad news type item. Well, in this case, we can flip it around and look at it and say this is a bad news but good news type item because Health and Human Services is ramping up and they are adding employees. Hopefully, some of the affected employees who are losing their jobs with the WIB are going to be able to fill the positions in HHSA. So, you know, bad news, good news. It's always difficult to lay people off. You affect their individual lives, their families, etc. But on the bright side of this situation, there are opportunities available for them within the county, and I hope that we will find many of those positions filled by former county employees.
And I would add, you saw the first step towards that with the position that that John added to the previous agenda item on the facility attendant. That is one of the 17, so we're one step down the road already just here today.
One, I guess, quick question. Your board, are they involved in this process as well, or does it start here and then go to your board?
It's the way that it's been handled in the past, and we went back and then replicated it in this issue. We meet just with the officers of the board because one of the reasons why the board has the agreement with the county is to deal with all the complexities of hiring and terminating employment and negotiating, and the WIB isn't involved in any of those discussions. So we just have a meeting of the officers of the board to ensure that this is the direction they're looking to go, and then and tomorrow I bring it in front of the WIB as just an information item. Action being
So that meeting took place then, and the next step is you take it to the full board. Okay, thank you.
okay, this is an action item.
Chair, I make a motion to approve to have the WID reorganize as proposed by Mr. Peck.
Second.
Second, proposed by Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Ishida. Cast your votes.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you, Adam. That concludes the major part of our meeting. Do we have need for closed session?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. Your board has already heard item A. Item F is off agenda. I do not anticipate any announcements.
Okay.